Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Backlog Crew. Today I'll be joined by Kurt,
Hello.
Ryder,
Hi.
Joe,
Howdy.
and then John here. Today we're going to be talking about Halo Combat Evolved, which released in 2001. And if you're not familiar with this game, I don't know where you've been hiding, but developer for this is Bungie Incorporated. So before we even jumped in, though, I wanted to ask, just because this is a household name, Halo. Who had familiarity with this? How many times did you get deleted by the Covenant on a daily basis as a child? So, anybody want to get us started?
Do you mean this game specifically or the franchise?
Yes. You can do
So I
this game first, but yeah.
I had never played this game before.
Okay.
My brother got an Xbox 360 when I was in middle school, and I played Halo Reach was my first Halo, and then I played Halo 4 and like 5 minutes of Halo 3, and that's all the Halo that I've played.
Okay, interesting. All right, who wants to go next?
Um, I had a couple of really close friends in high school who were obsessed with the Halo series, like losing their minds every time a new game came out. They read all the books, but I never played them because I never had an Xbox until I went to one of my friend's house for one day, and we played this game for like maybe an hour while I was at his house.
Okay,
That's all the experience I had with Halo until
1 hour.
I started playing for this.
Got it.
Mhm.
For me, I guess pretty much the same as Kurt. I'd never finished the original Halo, Halo CE Combat Evolved. Played bits and pieces of it before, but the majority of my exposure came from the 360 era, and specifically Halo Reach and Halo 4. Halo 3 was early 360 era, but by the time I really had a modern console, uh, Reach had released maybe a month before I got my 360. So that was the game that everyone was playing. Actually, I think my 360 was bundled with Reach, so I played that a lot. Both the campaign, multiplayer campaign, and then just online multiplayer. I played a lot of SWAT, a lot of snipers. Um, had a lot of fun doing that. And then when 4 came out, I was pretty hyped for 4, uh, just because it was relatively soon thereafter. I think maybe 2 years after Reach is when Halo 4 came out. So I still was kind of riding that high. Played through that and multiplayer as well, but Reach holds a special place in my heart. And then also, I've played Halo Infinite as well. I'll crazy that game is not that old, but I've kind of wiped it from my memory.
Say,
I
I
played the
forgot about
multiplayer.
Infinite.
Yeah, I know. I've played a lot of Infinite just because the multiplayer was free on launch for PC, and it was pretty good multiplayer, just not a lot of maps. Anyways, I have pretty good familiarity, and I know the story, but I've never played the original game though.
Okay, so just to give a bit of background for this game, released on the Xbox, and
What about
that's
you though?
I was gonna say that's exactly where I started with Halo.
Gotcha.
So as a kid, maybe 7 or 8, we used to play, get some dual screens going or split screen setup. I mean, and we used to play all the time. However, I don't ever remember beating the first Halo. I think we ended up liking Halo 2 better as children. I don't remember why, and then. Of course, I definitely played Halo 3 a lot and ODST. I don't think I've played 4, but I have played Reach. So, but yeah, that's my background, playing a lot of split screen, just trying to play as difficult as possible. I remember just getting domed in the head with plasma grenades all the time because we were like, yeah, let's try the hardest difficulty. It can't be that hard. So, and that's how I play games now. So, but so, background for the game, I started on the original Xbox, but they actually did a 10th anniversary of this game as well, and it's named Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. And then this also got moved over to Halo the Masterchief Collection when that released, and that includes basically the main series of Halo games as well as Halo 4 and Reach, I think is where it stops. So it doesn't have Halo 5, but every game that had been made up to that point following
Sure.
Master Chief were included in the collection. Makes sense, right? So, but yeah, so that's my familiarity with the game, and so yeah, never actually did the full campaign, so that's why I wanted to choose this and just give it a breakdown with everybody. So yeah, I guess any additional thoughts before we start moving a little bit into the story for the game or anything?
You just reminded me that Halo 5 exists. I did not know that was a game
Yeah.
until you said it.
I was sitting here thinking when everyone was mentioning what they had or hadn't played, I was thinking no one has touched Halo 5. And that's just like consensus amongst the world is like few people played it and the people who didn't like it, I guess. I never played it, so I can't speak to it, but I remember hearing a lot of negativity surrounding it. So
It is. I played this through the Masterchief Collection. Was
Mhm.
that what everybody did, or is somebody running like original Xbox version or anything?
Collection.
Yep, just a
Yeah.
collection on Steam specifically, so I could record
Just
it.
for different perspectives potentially, but I gotcha.
I didn't.
Yeah, go for it, John.
Well, wait.
Sorry, I don't want
think-
Ryder to talk. John, can we keep going, please?
Need
I think it's very important that before we talk about like the story side of this, like the significance of this game, like from a video game history perspective,
Mhm.
I guess related to the version of the game we played, did everyone play? I'm assuming on PC. And if you played,
Yep.
okay, were you playing mouse and keyboard or did you play with a controller? Because I'm assuming most people play with a mouse and keyboard.
I
controller.
I played with mouse and keyboard because it was an option.
Hmm. Okay. So I play with mouse and keyboard. Kurt played mouse and keyboard. John controller. Joseph controller.
It's mouse and keyboard.
Oh, mouse and keyboard. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm the only one that went controller. I was trying to relive the glory days, you know.
No, I get why you would do that. Yeah.
So I tried using my Xbox One controller, and I don't know what was going on with like button mapping, but it just would not work correctly, which is crazy because you'd think that like an Xbox One controller would be pretty, native to the Xbox app, but for some reason I could not get it to work. It was just really glitchy. So mouse and keyboard is what I use. But I wanted to talk about like the significance of like the game from a control standpoint. This game is 23 years old now, and pretty much every single first-person shooter. This is going to be separate from my feelings on this game. I can really appreciate what it did for like first person shooters because the control scheme, um using like both analog sticks and like using one for like walking and like the other one for aiming rather than doing like a mix and match of both, like the actual button mapping and stuff, all of that was foreign at the time. And you can go look at reviews from like the early 2000s when this game released where people trashed it, and just like critics, that is, critics thought this is horrible. Like, who would ever want to play a game like this because it was so foreign to play? Like, go play GoldenEye, and that sucks. It is horrible. But at the time, like controls like that were like the standard. Like your left analog stick, you'd use it to move front and back, and then you'd use it to strafe like left and right, or to just like, and not strafe left and right, but to like aim left and right. And then you'd use your right stick to strafe left and right, and then you'd use up and down on that right stick to go like up and down this axis. And it just, your fingers were like working against each other. And so, but again, that was the standard. And it's crazy to me that that's started here, and that people, not everyone, but critics hated it. Obviously the mass public enjoyed it enough that now every single FPS uses it. But there's that, and like there's so much cool history with this. The fact that this was originally an Apple project, it was being developed by Apple for Macintosh operating system, and it was originally a third person perspective game. And like I think there's a whole bunch of like backdoors stuff that happened that resulted in this being a Microsoft. Crazy, went from Apple to Microsoft for a Microsoft console exclusive. And the fact that they decided, hey, third person kind of sucks for what we're trying to do, let's move it to first person. But I think there's so much cool history surrounding this game, and I just want to touch on some of that because again, despite what my personal feelings are on this game as a game
Okay.
in history, I really appreciate it. And I'll talk about my feelings as we get into the game itself.
If I can add on to that real quick,
Yeah,
I'm glad that you
absolutely.
brought that up because you're right with like the dual analog sticks. This kind of being the birthplace of that. Because I was looking up, like Metroid Prime came out, which is a first person shooting game that came out 1 year after this, so it was in development about around the same time, and it still doesn't use the dual analog sticks because it took a while to like catch on. It was you had to park, hold down a button, and then the moving stick became the aiming stick. And so it's just really interesting to see how it's evolved. And we did Doom on Backlog Crew a few months back, and we talked about how like Wolfenstein is the grandfather of first-person shooters, and then Doom is the father, and then I feel like Halo One is like that next step in the evolution of what first-person shooters would become.
Good points. Good points. I actually did not know it started off as a Macintosh project, but kind of glad the way it ended up on the Xbox, because if it would have just been a Macintosh exclusive, I don't imagine I would have ever played this. So
We'd be playing on iBox.
never
Yeah.
even heard of that. Okay, well, I'm learning all sorts of new things today. So
No, it was just not a very good joke about Apple
oh,
making a console called the
I
iBox.
I thought you were talking about a product that got scrapped. So
Mixed.
Maybe they did.
you had me.
After we get done, you need to go watch. I think there's a video of Steve Jobs presenting Halo Combat Evolved,
That's
and
awesome.
it's so interesting because it feels like a fever dream looking at it because like it looks pretty close to what we have, but just the whole thought process of now looking back, 20 plus years ago and being like, "Well, this was going to be an Apple, product start to finish." And it's really cool. Which at that point, Apple was also like invested in Pixar and stuff, so that they were diversified in like all these other areas, 3D animation, video
Yes,
games.
cell
So
phones didn't exist then.
exactly. So, anyways, done with the history lesson. It's cool stuff. Y'all should go watch it later.
It's fascinating. I'm watching it right now.
just,
Go ahead, John.
Just
I'll
like,
stop.
all right, we're gonna pause this real quick. We're all gonna watch this and we'll come
It's only a
back.
3-minute video.
All right, so without further ado, I guess we will go ahead and just jump into the story here and just get started, I guess. So we set the scene by showing a huge ship going through space, and then you see across the side Pillar of Autumn, and that's where our story starts as we hear Cortana and Captain Keyes discussing a blind jump from a place called Reach and trying to get away from Covenant ships. However, they're already ahead of the ships somehow and are hiding on the other side of the planet, as well as other battle groups, including multiple capital ships inbound to basically surround and take over the Pillar of Autumn. So as they signal that all crew need to wake up, get ready for combat, and then they throw in there and everyone. So they must have somebody very special on this ship, but who could it possibly be? So as the ship prepares for combat, we see a soldier in cryosleep wake up, and you now figure out this is indeed Master Chief.
Geralt of Rivia. Oh,
What?
sorry.
It's who?
Wrong game. Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah, it's Geralt of Rivia. Yeah. He has no memories of where he's at, why he's here. Now he's got to solve all the RPG drama. So, but so that begins our story as Master Chief. We're given a pretty standard tutorial for a game. We're taught how to look around and move around, and basically this beginning area, you're not given a weapon. You're just making your way through the ship as you see everyone preparing for combat, and I believe there's some combat going on in a few different areas as you're trying to avoid it, and it's teaching you how to do various things as you run through the ship to get to the main deck, and that is when you meet Captain Keyes, and then he basically tells you, I think at some point they show a strange ring in space that you can see has topography on it and everything, and the captain actually plans to land the ship there. And so he's entrusting Master Chief with the AI Cortana to keep all the secret data of the ship safe from the Covenant. So this basically sets the scene. Anyone want to throw in anything I might have missed there for the beginning tutorial?
As far as story goes, I think you nailed it. it's a pretty good tutorialization of things. It starts off kind of funny where like the ship is clearly being attacked by a ton of aliens, and like you can tell from the opening cutscene that it's bad news. And meanwhile, you like wake up and they're like, "All right, let's calibrate your visor. Look left," and you just have to, uh, and you just do that for a few minutes, and then eventually aliens run in and shoot the people giving you the tutorial. And then this is where I think they do a really good job of like giving you situations that require you to do all the different things. They, teach you what crouching does. They teach you what grenades are. They teach you how to sneak up behind enemies. And it's all presented in a way that feels very natural from that point on. I think it's a really strong opening level.
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything at this point?
No, I agree. I think it's fun. The chaos of you being woken up and the Covenant boarding the ship, and you have other soldiers who are helping you out initially, and kind of the theme of this game and pretty much every other Halo game that ever existed is Master Chief or whatever Spartan is the main character of that game is the only person who ends up surviving longer than 45 seconds.
Honestly, yeah.
It's just anytime I see some guy show up, in a cutscene or something like that, I just go ahead and assume it's like a red shirt from Star Trek. Like he's not going to last to the next mission. Like he's dead.
Might be dead in the next 30 seconds.
I mean, very possible. Yeah.
It does a
But yeah,
really good. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just saying, I really enjoyed this tutorial.
I think it does a really good job setting the vibe for what the entire Halo experience is, because it introduces you to all the different, like, not all the different aliens, but it introduces you to some of the weaker aliens that you start out with, and you see all the other people that you were just talking about just starting to get destroyed while you're Master Chief. You're just coming in plowing through all these different enemies, and it's a really cool like spaceship settings where you can see out the windows and you can see all space, stars, the Halo ring, all different planets and stuff. I think it's a cool vibe where it really shows you like what the setting is for the series.
Yeah,
And
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I know that we're playing the anniversary edition of this, so obviously it's cleaned up. It looks better than the original release.
Very much cleaned up.
But atmosphere and stuff like the corridors of of our ship, the Pillar of Autumn. I really like it. It's just, I guess, again, setting the tone through like atmosphere. It really works here. It feels. I think in isolation, it's cool, but once you start seeing some of the other like scenery and stuff, and you're getting to like look at the way the Covenant ships look and stuff, like this is yellow and silver and like traditional like shapes like squares and rectangles, and then you get to like the Covenant ships later on. There's like the more like spherical shapes of things and purples and greens, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but I like that. I just like the scenery here, I guess.
While we're talking about what the game looks like, if we're playing the Master Chief Collection, the Anniversary Edition, you can toggle between original, remastered but original graphics and updated graphics that use, I believe it's Halo Reach's engine for the graphics. Did you guys play with the modern graphics on, or did you play the original?
I played with whatever the default was, so I'm assuming I was using
Modern.
Reach's engine.
Yeah, if it looked really good, then you were using the Reaches. I decided to go through it with the old graphics on, and then every once in a while you can like literally anytime by tab switch back and forth. And so as I was going through missions, I would be like, "Wonder what this looks like," and I would hit tab. I'd be like, "Interesting," and then I would go back to playing.
Yeah, I did that too.
You did that too, Joe?
There were some places where it was just really dark, and I was like, I wonder if it's brighter in the original version.
And it is. It's crazy how different it is sometimes. And there's like one or two missions where I think the atmosphere is aided a lot by the original graphics, and I think it loses a lot with the updated stuff. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But I was just wondering on that, because I don't know, that's an interesting decision to make when you're playing a remaster of a game.
Yeah, I did have that thought while I was playing through. I was probably like halfway through the game. I didn't realize you could toggle that. Probably wasn't bound to my controller, but I was walking through and I was like, this is how I picture this game in my head when I think back playing it as a kid, and I was like, I know it didn't look anywhere near this. It's kind of like how I felt with Spyro. I was like, in my memory, this is always what this game looked like. And then I go get the screenshots for our video for Spyro, and it would just be like blocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just funny how the mind works like that. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, barring any other discussion, anything? Okay. At that point, we're given Cortana, our AI chip, that is inserted into our helmet to keep safe, because we don't want specifically the location of Earth and all our battle plans to be discovered by the Covenant. So it's standard protocol to protect the AI for ships like this as much as possible, or I guess they might destroy them if they can't protect them. I'm not quite sure of that. Maybe the AI does it themselves. But yeah, so our job is to protect her and then try to evacuate the ship. He's going to attempt to land it on the ring. So as you leave the bridge, your Magnum comes into view, and that's when you can actually begin your first set of combat. And basically, you're just going to be making your way through the maintenance tunnel, seeing all sorts of aliens jumping onto the ship and raiding and attacking and trying to just take control of the ship. So I think the only two enemies we really have on this ship, however, are the grunts and the elites, right?
Yeah.
I don't think at this point it was anything else.
Or anything? No.
Okay. So at this point, yeah, it's just your standard little guys that run around with their little triangle thing behind their head, and and then the elites just basically tell them what to do. And if you kill the elites near some of the grunts, they start running around crazy and wondering what they're supposed to do now. They just lose all their senses.
Grunts are hilarious.
Yeah.
They speak English and they're just like are panicking constantly.
Yeah.
And it'll be like just me in the corner with a machine or like with an assault rifle, and they'll be like, "They're everywhere." It's like,
There's just
And
one
sometimes
guy.
they'll just throw out their arms and start running away from you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Which, like,
mhm.
they're funny now, but late game grunts, once they start, this is like skipping ahead, but like
Yeah.
early on, you
They're a
can
joke.
punch
Yeah.
them or shoot them like twice and they die, and yeah, it's kind of funny. But yeah, later in the game, they start getting like plasma grenades, and they become the bane of my existence because like if you don't take them out, they're just like, all right.
Yeah. And they
I'll
also
get
get
to
like
that.
guns that overheat and explode when they die somehow.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
you think you're good, you walk past them and they
It just explodes.
post death kill.
Yep. So, but yeah, we're given our Magnum. It's just a pistol to get started with, and then we just basically the equivalent of a tutorial, but for the combat as you're running through the ship. I don't think anything of note really happens during the rest of that. Just that you eventually make it to an escape pod, right?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, I don't know if world building's the right word, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, obviously this is a very sci-fi, fantastical setting, but they're trying to make it make sense because they're like, how are they getting onto the ship so easily? And it's like, oh, their ships are docking where the escape pods are leaving. And I just think I was like, oh, that makes sense. That would give them easy access to the ship versus them just like, what did they do? Just crash through the wall? Like, did someone open the door? How did they get? I don't know. I just think it's interesting that, and that's just kind of like ambient dialogue that they were talking about as you're running through and shooting. It's not like this whole big cutscene. So I can appreciate that kind of storytelling.
Right. So eventually we make our way to an escape pod, and we actually pick up and use like one hand to throw a soldier into the escape pod and get out of there. And as we are flying away from the Pillar of Autumn, we see that in fact Keyes is not using the piloting program that Cortana set up for him to land on the ring. He manually attempts to land the Pillar of Autumn, and you see that begin to heat up as it moves toward the the ring. And we also go down as well, and we have a rough landing, and we end in a big open field with some some towers and such around us. And basically premise at this point is we're just supposed to regroup, find a defensible position as we try to search for survivors. So, and this begins
I don't
our
know
actual
if
first
land
full
is
level.
the right word.
Well, we crash land. If I said land.
You land.
But yeah, so that's basically the premise at this point. And basically we're going to these 3 different large towers to try to see if there's any survivors, and basically just get a lay of the land at this point as we're trying to figure out what exactly to do next. And So yeah, anybody want to take it away from there? Well, I will say, what difficulty did you all pick out for your playthrough? I figure out now that we've made it past the first tutorial chapter. Let's hear what difficulty you went with, and if that changed as you kept playing.
Normal.
Okay.
I started on normal, but I guess this is also a good point to mention. I started playing this game with another friend like half a year ago or so,
Mm-hmm.
and I just picked up from that when I started playing for this video. And I was playing on normal co-op with a friend, and it was an extremely good time.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I started playing it again for myself, like towards the end of the game, I went down to easy because some of the enemies just became meat sponges, and it was not fun anymore.
You get a lot of one-hit KOs. Well, they get a lot of one-hit KOs on you later in the
Mm-hmm.
game too.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
It just
really
became frustrating.
I played on normal, and I thought it was interesting because I remember playing Reach when I was younger, and the different difficulty settings had like descriptions, and normal they kind of made it sound like you should feel pathetic if you're playing on normal. And then when you played on heroic, which is like their hard difficulty, it says the way Halo was meant to be played. So I went into this like I should probably play on heroic, I guess, and I was going through the difficulty options, and it didn't have any of that demeaning language in there, and it just said the normal mode. Enemies will give you a fair challenge, and I was like, oh sweet, let's just do that.
So
What did you do, John?
I played heroic through the whole thing. So not legendary, which is the hardest difficulty. I played heroic because I played a lot of normal mode and a good bit of heroic as 2-player whenever I used to play. So I was like, well, how hard could heroic be in single player? It wasn't that bad, honestly. So that face of doubt right there, interesting.
I don't know about that.
You have to keep in mind that John is better at most things than most people.
I too
This is fair.
am incredibly humble as well. So
There's like the first half of this game, like I think that's fair, but like we'll get there. But there's like
I
three
will
levels
bring
at
up.
the end.
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Let's just say I wasn't close to par times on a lot of those levels. I don't know if you've seen that at the bottom when you load the levels in the Anniversary Edition, but when you start a chapter, it gives you par time, and then it's a par score as well. So you're just like shooting for high scores with your friends. Well, one of them was like 18 minutes, and I feel like I did at least over double that. So I was not speed running by no means.
Anytime I saw the part time, I would like check my clock and be like, all right, I have 3 times that amount of time. I can do this.
It's like 15 minutes. It's like I might finish this in an hour and 20.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of them were taking me like an hour per chapter, so which makes sense because we originally looked at this and we estimated like 10 hours, and there's 10 chapters. So, it made sense. You would think about an hour a chapter or something.
But to be honest, most of that time, and I might be getting ahead of things. You can re-rail me if you want, but most of that time was not me being frustrated and dying over and over again. Most of the time was me wandering around aimlessly, trying to figure out where I was supposed to be going. And this mission's relatively well structured.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I don't want to step on your toes, but you get in the Warthog and you go from point A to point B to C to D, trying to rescue survivors. And they do a pretty good job about showing you basically where you need to go. There's good like lighting cues, but there were still times where I would get turned around. And then in some of the later levels where you're exploring like giant facilities or giant like open zone areas, it's really easy to get lost. I wandered around for at least 40 minutes on like the second to last level. It was like 10 p.m. I was like, I just want to finish the game tonight. I just want to walk through the door and shoot some people. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
So
it was probably 50-50 for me of dying, being frustrated, and wandering around being lost.
That's what I was going to say. Like a lot of these first levels, it's not too bad because usually if you see enemies there, that's where you're supposed to go. However, the further you get into this game, the less useful that is and less reliable.
There's like no waypoints throughout most of those levels either.
Right.
So, and like a lot of, we'll get there, but there's a lot of areas too where it looks like they just copy and pasted like tunnels or like and corridors
just to make it longer.
And like, exactly. And like, I get it, but like at the same time, if you, God forbid, you turn around for like half a second,
Yeah,
and
which
then
way
you
are you
look back
going?
up and you literally go, uh,
The most elite soldier in the world like looks at the ground for a second and then is like, oh no.
Which way was that?
exactly.
And I'm sure like a lot of the tunnels in the rooms and stuff were reused at the time to one like for loading times between larger areas, and then also to like save on resources, not having to have every location be brand new. But it in a modern era, it does feel a bit egregious
Mm-hmm.
from time to time, and I think at least for me, Halo is the most fun when you're. It's controversial. It's the most fun when you're shooting at aliens. And so when they're like, for the
Whoa.
next 20 minutes, you will not be shooting at aliens, and instead you will be doing light exploration and
Finding nothing.
1% puzzle solving. And it's like, I don't really want to do that, though. I just want to shoot. And I'm sure for pacing, like, they need to break it up. It might get boring if it was just running and gunning, but I don't know.
Yeah, but well, even though this is basically a reskinned, nicer version of the original, we just got to keep in mind it's a 2001 game, so it makes sense
Right.
they did reuse a lot of the assets and made some of the stuff a bit more barren than other parts. But still, I'd say, I mean, overall, like the levels were, I would say more often it was easier to find where I was going than difficult. I don't know, throughout the whole game anyway, for me.
Yeah, better at most things than most people. It's fine.
So, all right. So as we clear out these different areas, eventually we, like Kurt had said, we get a warthog, and this is our first vehicle of the game. So we ended up with a lot of them by the end of the game. But what did we think about the use of the warthog? Did you use it a lot, or did you just completely ignore it because it sucks?
I mean,
Thoughts?
the Jeep that has soap for wheels.
What did you say, Joe?
You mean the Jeep that has soap for wheels?
True.
I thought it was amazing. It's so much fun.
So what it no. In later games, I enjoyed it a little bit more. I don't know if the physics in this are closer to the original game or if it's closer to modern games, and my brain just doesn't, remember because I haven't played them in a while. But like, if this was the actual military, and they're like, okay, here's your vehicle. It's extremely top heavy. And if you're just driving on dry ground, it's gonna slip and slide left and right. You're gonna flip it at least once a minute. Is that cool with you? Like, okay, yeah, Master Chief can get out and just like flip it over, I guess.
Yeah.
But
is
what
pretty
are these
strong.
ordinary dudes supposed to do when they flip their Jeep over every 12 minutes? Are they supposed to just drive at like 2 miles per hour? Like, and like a poor guy who's standing on the back with a machine gun who gets his neck snapped whenever it rolls once every 2 minutes. I hate it. I hate it a lot. And there's a part at the very end of the game we'll talk about later that just made it even worse. But no, I did use it in this section because it was so expansive. I didn't really want to walk the whole thing, and
Right.
it also you can run people over with it, so it's a time
Pretty
saver
fun.
with that too.
I'm with Joe. I think the Warthog is a ton of fun, and Ryder, I get that it's slippery. I get that it flips over, but that just kind of adds to the chaos.
I think it's peak
And I think it's
2001
entertaining.
Inc.
I think if you're playing with other people, because anytime I've played Halo split screen or if I'm playing like online multiplayer, like competitively, it's fun to drive the Warthog and like
Yeah.
because it is chaotic. But if I'm just trying to like play a story mission and I'm literally just trying to drive across a seemingly flat piece of land and then I
Yeah.
roll it on a small rock, I'm like,
Yeah, I do remember like every time I got in a Warthog, being like, sure do wish I could be shooting things right now. Because I thought like, oh, if I get on the gunner or like the gun seat, then one of the Marines will jump in and drive to the next destination. Nope, they just sit there and stare at you. You have to drive it, and so there were a few times where like, oh, this is not as interesting as it could be since I'm just driving and not doing anything else. But the Marines do like jump on with you, and that's kind of again cool to see you like teaming up. Definitely did not kill a few Marines by accidentally jumping off a cliff and like diving out at the last second.
Or
Definitely didn't do that.
And
in this
that's
level.
why it's fun in multiplayer, especially because
Yeah.
if you have your buddy on the back playing as like the gunner, and you like intentionally like kill him by running off a cliff, it's hilarious. But again, when I'm playing by myself, I want to go from point A to point B. I don't want it to be like a chore. And again, that'll come up later.
The controls are really interesting though, because like it's like smooth tank controls, where like the only thing you can do is press forward and then you aim to decide which direction forward is.
Yeah.
And you can like get good at drifting while doing that. It is too a little too top heavy and does kind of tip over sometimes, but I don't know. It feels better than a lot of vehicles in a lot of games, even in the last 10 years, do.
Sure, it was probably like the pinnacle of technology when it came out too. I don't know how many first-person story-driven games had vehicles in them. I don't know if this was one of the first ones, but
No, that's true.
I think the vehicles in this game are like the most fun part of the game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The vehicles are pretty fun, but the controlling on this one is pretty rough. But
I think there are many other better vehicles in this
true.
game.
That's
Oh yeah, there
absolutely
for sure are better vehicles than Warthog.
Yeah.
But
So,
considering you
yeah.
can't sprint in this game, it's really nice to have a fast way to get around.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah,
So
that caught me off guard. Go ahead.
after we finish the first tower and we collect all the troops in that area, where the Pelican does drop off that Warthog, and then we're tasked with going around and collecting other sets of Marines that have radioed in, basically, to let us know we need to try to rescue them if possible. So we basically run around the map to these various different towers and to basically rescue all of the different troops that we have around. And then I believe lastly we're tasked with, or at one point we end up tasked with going through an underground tunnel. And it's kind of funny just trying to navigate that Warthog through the tight corridors of that tunnel, and then just taking out all the aliens on the inside without getting blown up by a plasma grenade. So. But yeah, so I guess that kind of just covers Chapter 2. I don't recall any specific story-wise pieces of information from this. Once we collect everybody, it just moves on to the next chapter, right?
Yeah, you save. I don't remember his name, but like there's a sergeant that you save, and they kind of set him up to be an important character, but he doesn't really do much of anything for the story overall besides just be like the one named Marine that pops up now and then.
Right. Okay. So I believe our next mission that involves, I believe this is now a night map, and
Yeah.
so we're brought in via Pelican. I believe we are trying to find the wreckage of the Pillar of Autumn, or try to find the Captain Keyes. So we are sent here to basically just search the area and see what we can find, and then we are given our first cool weapon, I would say, the sniper rifle. So, what were your thoughts on? I guess at this point we could just jump in. Weapons in general. Did you prefer to use your human weapons versus the alien? What was your weapon of choice? I guess.
Not the assault rifle.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
It is consistently the worst Kurt, I swear. It is the worst weapon in every single Halo game. It's
really
so
is.
bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Okay.
Ooh, that was a problem.
I know the assault rifle is a bad weapon, and I got rid of it whenever I could for the first half of the game.
Right.
But then in the second half of the game,
I did use it a lot more then. Yeah.
I used it a ton. So second half of the game, I'm rocking assault rifle and shotgun, like straight through. First half of the game, I was doing Magnum and then whatever else interesting that I could pick up. The energy rifles, is that what they are? That the elites used?
Plasma rifle?
Plasma rifles. Those were really good for taking down elites. Obviously, the sniper rifle is the most fun gun in the game. This was probably my favorite level just because they just hand you the sniper rifle and ton of ammo and say, all right, be as sneaky as possible with this super loud gun.
Yeah.
I used a pistol a lot, but I ended up using the assault rifle a lot too. The few times that I did have a sniper rifle, like later on in the game, I would unload all the ammo that I had into like one enemy, and then I'd be like, all right, there goes the sniper rifle for the rest of the level, I guess, because there's not going to be another one. And I'm
If
just,
you
Right.
go for the headshot, it's like one and done
I was
on
gonna say
every
you
single enemy.
you unloaded all of the sniper rifle ammo into one enemy.
I don't
The
remember
only
which
one
enemy it
enemy
was,
that could
but it
take
was
more
later
than
on.
2 sniper rifle hits is like a hunter.
I'm pretty sure it was an enemy that I wasn't supposed to kill, and I was supposed to continue moving on because they just kept respawning. But it was one enemy that I tried unloading everything into, and it just didn't die.
Okay, I'm gonna have to hear about this more. Remind me of that in a minute, if
It
that's
was
okay.
one of the last missions.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
of the game. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, it's probably a hunter then. My favorite is the plasma pistol. The entire game. It's
Like-
so good.
The default, the grunts carry.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, sell me on that because I've heard it's good, but I never
I didn't
got
find
a
it that
good
good in
strategy
this
for it.
game.
It like late game especially, it's really good because it's so proportional to plasma rifle. It does pretty close to the same amount of damage,
Uh-huh.
but the ammo capacity on the plasma pistol is like head and shoulders above pretty much everything else, and there's so much availability because grunts have them and jackals have them, so you
Mhm.
always have access to them. If you're up against a stronger enemy, you can do the charge shot, but honestly, you don't even have to do it because you can rapid fire. As long as you're paying attention to the overheat, you can just rapid fire as fast as you can like shoot, and then just let it like drop off. You can pretty much kill anything in the game with it. It's a really good gun. Most of like the marine weapons are trash, with the exception of like the shotgun
Mm-hmm.
and the sniper rifle. The issue is you get the sniper rifle like 2 times in the game,
Right.
and you're not going to get any more ammo refills. The shotgun, similar, but it's only really helpful at the end of the game because you have tighter corridors to use it on.
Right.
Early game, there's too many wide spaces, and it's really bad. So pretty consistently, plasma pistol, and then usually like a plasma rifle would be like a secondary or whatever else I could get my hands on, really. But the plasma pistol, me and that thing the entire game.
Is the needler bad?
I thought so.
No,
Yeah.
but yes, it's like really strong, but the delay on it
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that you can kill yourself with it later in the game, because if the explosion happens near you, like you can like take out your shields and your health immediately. Now multiplayer, the needler is so overpowered because it has tracking shot,
Yep.
Right.
And also I will say most of the Covenant weapons have a degree of like tracking to it, which also is like really nice. So you don't have to aim too accurately.
Okay.
I don't know. I pay a lot of attention to the guns, if you couldn't tell.
I was to say, I think my favorite was the plasma rifle, and then I guess how much I used it. I would say the shotgun was my second favorite. So, but those were the main two I used. The rocket launcher did come in handy at some points as well, but I'm not gonna
Every
count
time
that
I
as a
picked up a
favorite.
rocket launcher, I ended up dying because of it. Like, just
Okay, that cover everybody's weapons of choice and everything.
Mhm.
Perfect.
I'm
All right.
a rifle.
So, what did you think of this nighttime mission? If I'm not mistaken, this is the only one that actually takes place at night. So, it was pretty interesting seeing how dark the game would look, but with all the light and the purples coming from all the alien weapons, especially the needlers when they fly across, is pretty cool. Definitely how I envision it in my head when I think of this game. But yeah.
I was gonna say I feel kind of in the middle about this one. I didn't dislike it, but it's really long. It goes on for a while, and it's the entire game is like combat heavy, of course, but it's extremely combat heavy at some points, where like I felt kind of on my toes a bit too much. But ultimately, I do think it's a good level. I anytime that there's some backup, I enjoy it. I enjoy the Marines being with you on this mission. It's one of the few where you actually have them pretty consistently,
Right.
and it's the first time you get to see a Covenant ship on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool.
Spoilers.
Because again, going back to what I was saying earlier. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was just kidding.
I was just gonna say on this. I talking about what Kurt said earlier, tabbing between the original graphics and like the updated like reach. I didn't do that, but I've of course seen what the original game looked like, and I think it's one of the more common complaints I hear about the newer Halo games is they lost a lot of the charm by going for like more gritty realism with colors and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But the original Halo has these super like flamboyant colors. Like the elites are like they're not just blue, they're like bright blue and bright red and bright yellow and bright green.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, same with like the interior of like the Covenant ships. I feel like it's one of the few holdovers from like the original game is everything's just so purple and blue and green, and it's just it's a fun contrast to what we
Yeah.
see again with the marine ships. The scenery in the game is diverse and it's
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Very vibrant, I would say.
Mhm.
So, as we keep moving into the Covenant positions, taking them out, clearing our way, eventually we come across some of the hunters that we were just talking about a moment ago.
Mm.
So the hunters are the big brutes of the of the Covenant forces. They're big,
Not to make
hulking.
confused with the brute.
Yeah. I realized that after I said it. However, these big old guys have a big shield arm and then a big cannon on the other, and they're not afraid to use either one to try to take you out. So I think for this level, I actually used the sniper rifle to take them out, and you know, it was very helpful to have that weapon because there'll be some instances further into this game where I don't feel like I have proper weaponry to fight them, and I get very annoyed. What are y'all's opinions of these enemies, the hunters?
Halo Reach taught me that the only way to defeat a hunter is with plasma grenades.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is probably when I started using plasma grenades more frequently on enemies.
Yeah, you kind of rope a dope them, throw a grenade, rope a dope again,
Mhm.
throw another grenade. Or once you
Yeah.
blast off their back shields, you can, sniper rifle, shotgun,
Mm-hmm.
pump kind of strong weaponry into there.
And I
I
will.
think that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that, and one thing of note is hunters always come in pairs. That's to defend each other,
Adorable.
and yeah, they're best bros.
They're breeding partners. You're killing husband and wife.
That too.
That's
Go
in
ahead.
Halo 3 ODST. It says that in
Oh,
the
really?
in-game codex. No, I'm joking. I don't. It might be true. Who
I
knows?
didn't say it like that exact way, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like Joe, you mentioned their like books and stuff. If they like went into the lore of why they're
Mhm.
always in pairs of two.
It's very possible. But no, I was gonna say, I think that frag grenades for me were easier to use on taking them out because plasma grenades, they don't bounce and roll, and
Yeah.
They hit
so
their
if you
shields.
don't get a true exactly, if you don't get like a true hit on them, it's just gonna bounce off their shield, and then that's a wasted grenade. So I would usually use like a frag grenade to try to take them out. And again, we said this earlier, but you can't sprint. So in the later Halo games, you could actually sprint around them and like try to shoot them in the back. But this is a little bit harder to do that. But later on in the game, once you have a shotgun, it's way easier to take them out. But no,
Yeah.
I saved my sniper rounds, and because they're so rare, I'm like I have to use these on
Mhm.
an elite. But when I saw the hunters, I was like, all right, well this is the best time I guess I'm gonna get for them, and just ran around them and shot them in the back with them.
Right. Okay.
They're fun. Because we don't get like true bosses in this game at all.
No.
So it's the closest thing you're going to get to like a boss or mini boss is seeing a hunter that you have to take out.
All right.
Before
and then,
before we move on to the
Mhm.
ship, this is also the first time I noticed a ton of the Marine chatter that was
Mhm.
happening because they're Marines following you this whole time, and I feel like I was pretty sneaky. But about the like second, chunk of this mission, I got in kind of a firefight, so the Marines ran in to help, and they're like being smart Alex with each other, and they'll kill an elite, and they'll be like, next time you can help, and then they'll like end up like shooting each other in the backs and be like, get out of the way. It's just like it's just funny that all that dialogue's there when they could just be silently firing bullets, and I probably wouldn't even be thinking about it because a lot of the game there's not dialogue happening because you're by yourself. So it's just it's really fun and sets a different tone.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And then we talked about grunts. We've talked about hunters. I said elites, but we never actually went into them. But I'll hold off on that for just a moment. And let's talk about the last enemy we're going to see for quite some time, and that is the jackal. The jackal are these little guys that have a big blue shield in front of them that will turn yellow, orange, and red, and then it'll disappear. And then they have a little hole for the gun to poke out, and they just be shooting you through it and annoying you, or like holding a plasma shot and then shooting it at you and murdering you all at once. If you're in heroic difficulty, anyway, I'm sure you'll have to deal with that as well, right? Right.
Not to that degree,
Oh.
but I've played the other games on heroic and legendary before, and jackals become
Murder
the
you.
worst
Mhm.
enemies in the game. They're so bad. So I can empathize, just not in this specific game.
I don't know. In normal mode, I just shot him in the hand and then I shot him in the face.
Yeah, that's the best route
Yeah.
to take.
Pop.
My favorite, especially in the earlier ones, whenever you're doing like the tight quarters with jackals, is shoot them in the hand or something. It makes their shield move out of the way, and then you just bop them in the head.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing just running up to them,
very
smacking their shield with
relaxing.
my elbow.
Especially
Melee
after they
attack-
murder you.
Melee attacks in games where you're not really supposed to be in melee range are my favorite.
Mhm.
It's so entertaining.
On that subject, though, I feel like the melee attacks were really underpowered
They were.
in this game, and like
Yeah.
again, my frame of reference is like the later games, and
Hmm.
I guess other first-person shooters. A lot of times, if you're going to use a melee attack, it's going to be really overpowered. But like, I feel like there are times where I like melee someone like 4 times, and
they
they
still
just
don't go down. Yeah.
wouldn't die. Yeah, and I was like, all right, this is
Yeah.
a waste of time.
I remember when I was in high school, my friends were talking about, oh my gosh, Master Chief's so cool. You can just punch a guy and he explodes or something. I came into this game, I would run up to a grunt and punch him in the face, and he's like, ah, and then just keep shooting. I had to put half a clip into him.
Master Chief hadn't bulked up yet.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah.
He's at a cryo sleep. He's got to let the muscles rebuild.
Yeah.
Dude,
There's
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit. I was wondering, did anybody... I don't play a ton of keyboard and mouse games. I don't play a ton of first-person shooter games. And so there would be times where I'm like panicking in the firefight and I'll hit the wrong buttons. And did anybody ever throw grenades when they were trying to punch someone in the face?
I think I did whenever I would come back to the game after taking a break.
Because that happened with me far too often, or when I'm like trying to reload. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm just admitting things that happened to me. But it's just
No.
really funny because I would throw a grenade and then I would punch a guy and then we'd both explode. Be like, yeah, got him.
No, I do that in Helldivers because C is my grenade and V is my meds. So I'll
man.
mistakenly click one or the other every now and again, but not very often. But
I feel like it's
anyway.
easier to do when you're playing keyboard and mouse than it is with a controller. I feel like it's so ingrained, like it
Yeah.
never changes, and like everything is so stationary on this side and on like this side that I never feel like there's guesswork. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, I map everything to. I have like
Yeah.
a gaming mouse with like
Same. Yeah.
keys for numbers, and so I map everything to this for the most part. It's so much easier. But yeah, I still did it like a couple of times where I tried to melee and I'd accidentally exactly work on that, Kurt. But it does really make it a lot easier because I don't have to play like guesswork of like, all right, where's the control key at, or where's R for reload. No, instead it's like, all right, my melee is always going to be 5 on my little keyboard here on my mouse. Number 3 is always going to be grenades. Number 2 is going to be whatever. It helps.
Could you remap the controls? Because I looked and I couldn't figure out how to remap.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that's entirely my fault. Second of all, in the tutorial, I am 99% sure that they say press E to reload. And at least on my keyboard, it's R to reload.
It was always R for me.
Okay, maybe I just misread the prompt, but I remember just mashing E, and then eventually I just hit R, and I was like, oh, that's a little less convenient because I got to reach slightly to the right. I don't know.
E is the action button for like everything else though, so maybe you just
That's
like
true.
mix those two.
That's true. Anyway,
All right. Good discussion. So let's move forward in this mission. We end up under a huge Covenant ship, and I don't remember the class of ship or the name, but a huge Covenant ship that we are going to load up into and basically infiltrate in hopes of finding Captain Keyes. So at this point, we can now talk some more about the last Covenant enemy that we haven't talked about, the Elites. Because as you enter this room, not only are you dealing with the regular Elites we've been fighting up to this point, but there's now a new variant, an invisible one that shows up and just starts hacking down all of your troops and flooding the room. And you got to hunt them down while they're invisible and look for the shimmers of shimmers going across the room to try to hunt them down before they take everyone out. So what were your thoughts on this survive section?
I think I got lost in this mission.
You got lost in the ship?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm watching the long playback right now, and I'm like, oh, there's a corridor with 8 corridors that are attached to it that all look identical. I'm already lost watching the video.
Well, I will say that, at least for me, I don't know. Did you play with the original graphics or new? Because a lot of with the newer graphics, the doors you couldn't open were red, and then the ones that did open were green.
I did it with the newer graphics.
Oh,
I just still probably went down the dead ends.
Oh,
It's the same way with the original graphics, where the doors will be slightly different looking, and you kind of figure out which ones are closed.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes there will be doors where you just walk up and they open for you, and there's like no lights on them at all. It's like, I thought this was a wall. What are we doing here?
Okay, we can talk about this later. But there's arrows on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
and for the
majority of the time, they're helpful.
yeah, exactly right. But there's missions like later in the game where it's like go this way, and I'm like go walk up. I'm like the arrows say go that way, and
Yeah.
And then you turn around and go that way, and there's like a path that way, and you're like, but okay, I don't know. Am I actually supposed to go this way or not? Like, I think that contributes to some of the confusion, I feel, is because the rules are not standard.
Mm-hmm.
But, talk about that later.
They sometimes give you like waypoints, like, hey, go here for your next objective. And maybe they do this in newer games where there's always a waypoint, or preferably there's like a button to toggle on a waypoint. Because I think that would be nice. I know that some people can be frustrated with games not respecting you being able to figure it out, but sometimes I can't figure it out, and I want a little button I can press to tell me which direction I should be going.
Really like in Bioshock Infinite, you can press, I think, Control, and it just draws an arrow on the ground that traces where you're supposed to go.
Yeah, and like another Bungie game like Destiny was really good about it, because they wouldn't just be like, oh, it's 3,000 feet away up and to the right. They would say you need to go 10 feet this way, and then once you got there, they would add a new one. And I don't want that for every game. I don't want that on all the time, but just some kind of, like you were talking about, Ryder, some kind of waypoint system from time to time would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Agree completely.
So back to talk about the elites for just a moment before we move forward with the story. You're good. I was going to say, these are the invisible ones, but we haven't really discussed them. They are basically like the commanders over the grunts. I know we said that briefly, but they're going to be like the backbone of the Covenant army. Whenever I think of Covenant, I think of these guys. I don't know if they're the actual leaders, but this is what I think of when I think of the leaders, would be these guys. And then they have varying ranks, and you'll see that on the battlefield. You'll see some in blue. I think those are the lowest tier. And then they have red, orange, white, all sorts of different color of armor, and that's how you can denote the differences between them. Or they'll have like a cape or something in the later games. Or some sort of cloth hanging off of them. Yeah.
Head piece also changes shape, so it's smaller and almost like an insect. It's like if it's really tall, almost like a crown. There's generals. That's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Right, and so anyway, these specifically are carrying a very special weapon. Every time I think of Halo games, this is the weapon I think of, the energy sword. And they are slicing through the soldiers like butter. But it's so sad, whenever you take them out, you cannot pick up any of these energy swords. And,
that really blew my mind.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but at no point in this first game can you get an energy sword.
It's not a thing.
Mm-hmm. There's no melee weapons at all.
I think that's added in Halo 2, and I think that was part of the draw of there were playable elites in multiplayer in Halo 2, and so that was this game. It's just the Spartans versus Spartans in multiplayer, but the second game it's elites versus Spartans, and they added in the swords at that point and other melee weapons, but this one, no, nothing.
So unfortunately, you're not going to get to hack and slash your way through this first-person shooter this time. However, they were definitely a stopping point for me, but especially playing on my difficulty, just how quickly you would get outnumbered with how many troops were coming in from all corners of that room as you're in that survival section. But once you break through their advanced teams, you can move forward and just begin exploring the ship. And we've already talked about how beautiful the color scheme is on this ship. But there's not really anything of note as you are making your way around. I think the main part we get to is when we actually get to where they're holding Captain Keyes, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, and so we end up finding the captain in the back corner of his ship in a cell of some sort, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's been taken prisoner. I guess they did end up finding the Pillar of Autumn after all, but we have learned he has survived. And so now our objective is to just get off the ship, and that's what we'll be doing. We'll taking the captain with us, and I'm trying to see if I wrote any notes story-wise from this conversation.
You end up stealing a Covenant ship.
Yes, we do.
Escape, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, so that's how we end up leaving the ship. Is we used a beam of like a tractor beam at the bottom of the ship to get on. However. But we flew out. Were we like in space or something at that point, or were we still on the ground for the drop ship?
Wait, do you want to get on the ship?
To get off in the drop ship, or were we still just flying above the ring? I guess.
I don't know. I can't tell.
I don't remember. I just assumed we were like hovering above Halo.
Maybe so.
Okay, I did find the note I wrote for this section. Basically, there's a conversation between you and the captain, and it's basically determined during his time as a prisoner of theirs that I guess the elites also speak English, so he overheard some of their conversations. But it has been determined that the aliens call the ring a halo, and it is a deeply religious symbol for them, and they believe that it stores or is a weapon, and whoever controls Halo controls the fate of the universe. And so Keyes has decided that we must find a way to use this weapon before the Covenant so that we can fend them off, and so they can't use it to destroy humanity as we know it. So that is our next mission, is to get off of this ship and begin figuring out what to do next to, I guess, figure out what Halo does before they do. And so, yeah.
Is there any lore explaining why the Covenant speaks English? Like, is it just like most fantasy and sci-fi where you just kind of accept that they need to be able to communicate, so we're just going with this?
I think you can go with the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and the Mass Effect answer, where either one of those solves it. So Knights of the Old Republic, your character, because he's so well versed in the universe, just already speaks all these languages, so he's interpreting in his head. Or Mass Effect, there's implants that allows you to like automatically interpret things when you hear it, which I think makes more sense for Master Chief. So that's what I'm going to go with.
That does make sense, but then also the way they name things is they name things the Halo, and also the name of the ship that we're on in this mission is called the Truth and Reconciliation. Just
Translated too.
I don't know. Like
Yeah.
Obviously it's not actually that
Translation.
important to figure it out. Yeah, just Google translates for you. It's like, oh, that's a pretty cool name.
Which it's interesting too, because like the names for all the enemies are names that are given to them by the Marines. They don't call, like, the little dudes don't call themselves grunts. They have their own name, but
Right.
which I think that's like a fun thing, that we were referring to them essentially by like slurs almost. It's like, no, you're not a glork bork, you're a grunt. Or,
Well, maybe if there would have just been some, nice simple peace talks between the Covenant and, the military of Earth, maybe we could have found a common ground,
I'm sure the Earth tried very hard.
I'm sure if
jump the gun at all.
If the leaders of Earth or anything, it's nice and friendly and willing
patient
to
and
cooperate with
reasonable
people.
when it comes to military force.
Patient and reasonable.
A video game made by Earthlings. I actually do think that the Covenant had like a preemptive attack. I think that's part of the lore, is that like humans were not the aggressors initially.
I was gonna say, I actually don't know the history of like how long they have been fighting the Covenant or vice versa. I don't know how long this has lasted before Master Chief comes into play and we start Halo 1. And I don't know what started it, so because
I didn't read the books.
I'm just going from a fan perspective, playing through the first game for this. Like, I don't know what started it or why.
The Halopedia says that the war was instigated by the high privates of the Covenant, following a discovery which led them to believe that humans were directly related to the Forerunners, contradicting their ancient religion. So, believe it or not, people had religious differences and started a war.
Wow,
That's never happened
couldn't
before.
happen here.
It's unrealistic.
Thank goodness for fiction allowing us to
Yeah.
experience stories like this.
Right, exactly.
Check back next week when we review all 27 Halo books.
All right. So I have one more little note here that ultimately it was determined by Keyes that the Covenant were attempting to find Halo's control room. And so his objective is to get there first. And so that brings us to our next mission. We're basically split up from, I just want to make sure, it's Captain Keyes, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Just making sure. I've been saying that and I never fact checked it. But
Admiral.
see?
Oh, it's Keys regardless. I think it's
Yeah, let's start calling him Keys. All right, so we're separated from our Keys for this next mission.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah,
His name's Jacob.
Jacob Keys. Interesting.
Jacob Keys.
So we're being tasked with, I believe, going to a facility that is the primary security for the buildings that are already built upon Halo. And so we're tasked with shutting down the security so that we can begin trying to get to the control room before the Covenant.
Yeah, we're trying to find something they call the silent cartographer, which gives like directions to the control center, basically.
Okay, perfect. All right, so yeah, we're brought to a beach on a Pelican, and we're given another Warthog, everyone's favorite, and a group of soldiers that are going to come with us and definitely stay alive the entire time.
For 30 whole seconds.
For 30 whole
Good
seconds.
show has a beach episode.
Exactly. So
Is Halo an anime?
it was not made in Japan, so I'm going to go with no. But close
I'll
enough.
say this is the episode that I played with my friend when I was like 13 in high school. And the only thing I really remember about it is being bad at first-person shooters. I died 3 times, and I remember I had a respawn time of 14 minutes. So I was just sitting there watching my other friend play.
Oh, man.
Oh, have I forgotten this? Did Split Screen have respawn timers if you didn't hit checkpoints?
I know it.
Right?
I know it did on the original.
I
didn't know the
forgotten all
original
about
had
that.
co-op.
Yeah,
Huh. For some reason, I thought that was in the anniversary version. That's cool.
it was
Part of
split
why it
screen.
did so well. Mm-hmm.
I guess that makes sense considering all the stuff with the Warthog, you'd want to have a player 2 with you. That's really cool.
Mhm.
I don't know if you want me to hit this, but
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
is one of my favorite missions.
Well,
If
good. You give
nothing
us the
else, because
walkthrough.
of
Go
the
ahead.
scenery. Oh, I don't want to do all that. Uh, like Joseph said, it's a beach episode. Most of your time is kind of spent, driving between, which I feel like it's a lot of this game is going from point A to point B and with a minimal description of why you're doing so. But you land on the beach. It's actually very picturesque besides the dying people everywhere. And you hop on the Warthog with your team of 3 elite Marines, or 2 elite Marines rather.
Sure.
And you drive to one of the buildings on Halo. Go in, do some shooting, and then you leave that building. You go drive some more and go back in a building until eventually you wrap up the mission. I'll be honest, I don't remember
It's okay. I got you.
the significance of any of it. I think I
So-
hit pretty much the
I think
high
this
points.
was, I would
So-
agree, this is probably my favorite mission because I did play this one recently with another friend, and what we did was try to get the Warthog into every inside corridor in the building. And it was so much fun because you could glitch it in certain spots and it would actually get in there. So one of us would be on the back just shooting people, and the other guy would be trying to squeeze the Warthog in these tight corridors.
Definitely the Warthog was made for 2-player games.
Mhm.
Because if you put like a regular, soldier on there that's not another person, basically they're just going to die and not kill anything unless you're running them over. But basically you nailed it there. We head to 2 different buildings. The first one, I believe, is the security room that has the map room locked. And so once we disengage the lock, we go back to the map room and activate the panel so we can figure out where the silent cartographer is, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Look at that. So yeah, that's a high level breakdown. I don't think there was any real story in this chapter at this point, right? This is kind of getting us further along into the game and letting us basically figure out where to go next.
The only note that I wrote for this chapter was like a gameplay thing. I think this is the first time I found like the invisibility power up.
Oh,
I don't know if it's the first time it's in the game, but I found it. Invisibility is super good because, when enemies are invisible, you can still see them when they're moving around, but the enemies cannot see you at all when you're invisible. You can just run right past their face. And there was one point where I walked into one of these facilities and I was invisible, and there were two elites facing each other. And I walked up behind one and I hit him in the back of the head and they died. And the other elite just stood there and didn't react at all. And then just walked around and hit that guy in the back of the head too.
Must have been the wind.
Yeah, exactly. Just like completely unaware of their surroundings when you have the invisibility power up. And so anytime I got the invisibility power up, I was like, I got to do something stupid with this. It's really fun.
So, let's see. So, barring any other discussion at that point, we now know the location of a control room of some sort for the Halo ring, and now our task is to get there. And so, Foehammer picks us. Foehammer is the name of the Pelican pilot. Sorry. Picks us up and brings us to an underground facility, solo this time. But I will ask, right before this happens, there's a cutscene of us kicking something into a hole. Do any of you quite know what we kicked into that hole? Because this is the point where I took a break from the game before the holidays kicked in. We kick something into a hole in a cutscene, and then it brings us to Foehammer picking us up in the Pelican like a little bit after that. And so I was so confused. We kicked something into a big pit underground, and I had no idea what it was. I didn't know if I forgot what I was doing or what, but we kicked something in a hole.
I see what you're talking about, but I do not remember what that was about.
Yeah, I'm on Reddit trying to figure it out.
But it just seems so out of the blue for me. Because like I was trying to figure out where to go. We've talked about this a few times, especially in these sections when you're in the underground facility. A lot of it looks the same. So I was trying to figure out where to go, and I believe the mission ends a little bit after this. But basically, I got to that area, and I walked around, and we kicked something into a hole. And it's a whole cutscene of its own, and yet I didn't understand the significance of it. So
let's just say it was the iBox.
People online are saying like it's just a rock. He's like mad, so he just kicked something. I don't.
So why would there be a whole cutscene about it?
I don't know.
That's funny. Okay, it's good that the wise people of the internet can't agree on what that is.
To be clear,
so.
it's only like 5 people in this comment section, and they don't agree with each other. But that's the best answer I can give you right now.
I was gonna say that's a requirement. If they're online and talking, they're not agreeing.
That's true.
We can put that to the test in the comments section. Drop us a little message and let us know what we in fact kicked in that hole after you liked and subscribed. You knew I'd find a way to throw that in there somewhere.
There it is.
All right. So anyway, so we're picked up in a Pelican and we're brought underground to an underground facility solo, and we have to make our way to the control room. I believe is what we are doing next.
Yes.
So I believe this is where we start seeing a lot of the passages looking alike and similar and making it very difficult to navigate and confusing. So does anyone want to describe their experiences with the chapter or the mission named Assault on the Control Room?
There's a lot of sleeping grunts, and I punched them.
I was going to say, if one of you did not go across that bridge with like 15 sleeping grunts and just bash their heads in, then you missed out. Because that was
a good time. I let them sleep because I'm polite.
Well, my problem is, I don't know about you guys, because I think it varies how many enemies show up based on difficulty, but the other bridge had enemies on it that were not asleep, and so they were going to wake up all the grunts anyway. So I was like, well, I guess it's murdering time.
This was also the mission that had the big tank in it, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe is called a Cobra. Is that correct? Or a Scorpion?
Scorpion.
Scorpion. I didn't like the Scorpion. I did not like playing in the tank. I died a few times while in the tank, which feels bad. I get it if I'm messing up, but also I'm just shooting, and I don't have the reticle perfectly lined up. But the reticles mean it will land somewhere in here, and I would have the guy perfectly in the center, and it would shoot like to the top right or the bottom left. and I was just like, I can't. There's a point where you're like going through a facility, and there's like a ton of elites and grunts on like turrets shooting at you, and I just couldn't hit anything no matter what I did. That's probably the section I died on the most. I had to redo that like 5 or 6 times just to get through that one room with the scorpion.
So I actually really enjoyed the Scorpion, and this is also, I think, one of the first times you get to use the later in the level, but the Covenant version, like the Covenant tank as well. There's a
you
lot
could
of
use one?
variability.
Wait,
Believe so.
you use a wraith?
I think you have the option to. I might be wrong.
I tried a
gonna
few
replay this whole game
times
if
to
that's the
steal
case.
one, like you could in Halo 3 and stuff, because in the future games, may not be this one, but if you got up close to an enemy vehicle and it was occupied, you could press a button and Chief would literally jump on it and kick people out and steal their ride. But
really awesome.
I tried a few times in this to do it and it wouldn't let me. So either I didn't line it up perfectly or it's not in the game. I wasn't quite sure. I did try a few times though.
I don't think it's in this game. You can definitely get into unoccupied vehicles, like you use ghosts and you use banshees, which are like they're kind of ground and air vehicles. But it's totally possible, right? I'm not saying I don't believe you. I just never encountered an unoccupied wraith.
So I also played this, and so I just looked it up. You can't use it, so I'm mixing things up. This is also a gap for me. I actually played this and then stopped for a while too. It was the mission after this is where I played and stopped for like a few months. But no, I'm thinking of the other. I'm thinking of like the ghosts and stuff is what I used on this, because this is like the first outside level.
Yep.
Like the snow level that I remember. I like the change of scenery because I thought it was fun seeing how the Halo has its own self-contained, not just like topography, like John said, but also like environments. It's just from a sci-fi perspective. I know we're playing like a shooter here, but like ultimately, I love science fiction, and so it's really cool to think that like some precursor race to everyone else built this massive, Halo, which is simultaneously like a space station / weapon / actual living biosphere. I don't know. It's really cool. But anyways, during these open portions, I remember using like the tank, and I guess it was the first time we used like some of the Covenant vehicles as well. Just switching between them. I think it was like not the one that you can actually fly with, but the one that kind of hovers like directly over the ground. I think
Not
it's
the Banshee, the Ghost.
That's the ghost.
I think that you have access to the ghost in this as well.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, ghosts are so fun to pilot. In every Halo game, those are like my favorite thing to just run around in.
All right, so this is our chance to try out all the different vehicles so we can learn how much we've been missing out by being stuck with the Warthog the whole time. And so yeah, basically the premise of this is we're just fighting our way through different sections of grunts and elites and their battlements, trying to make our way past them to eventually make it to the control room, which is where they're trying to beat us to. But so yeah, I trying to think of any other story wise I might have missed here. But basically we're just weaving in and out of above ground facilities that have the snow, and like we were just talking about, the nice scenery, and then the maze of roads and walkways that are underground. So
big empty corridors. You drive a tank through, press a button, open a door, continue through the big empty corridor.
Exactly.
Drive a tank through it.
And again, I think that goes back to the needing to load the new area, so they blocked it off. But
yeah,
I guess that is a good way to do it. But I actually didn't think about it while I was playing. I was just like, this is just so pointless, but I'll do it anyway.
At the very end of the level, so to get into the control room, it's like the top of a pyramid kind of shaped building against like a mountainside. I think that there's a path just walking straight up the pyramid, or like zigzagging up, where you're supposed to fight a bunch of enemies. But as soon as you run out, there's an elite standing next to a banshee in the distance. So I just like killed him as fast as possible, and then the banshee was just there, so I got on the banshee, which is their flying vehicle, and then took off and just flew to the top of the pyramid, jumped out, and finished the mission. Is that the intended way to play? Is that what you guys did, or did I skip some combat?
That is not the intended way. The intended way is to go across that man-made or natural bridge and then work your way through another section of facility, and then come out by the pyramid and fight your way to the top. I tried quite a few times to get past them, but how I had the difficulty set, there's no way
Yeah.
I could. There were 3 different elites I had to kill, and there were 2 banshees on the bridge, but there were 3 elites, and you had to fight your way through them to get to the banshees. And if they started losing, they would climb in the banshees.
Right. I'm just wondering. So I skipped some level. That's kind of fun.
You did.
I mean, but I think that probably counts as intentional because you think why would they put it there and give you
the option
access
is
to use it?
definitely there.
And like I know for a fact that with later Halo games, talking about even this game, talking about the par that's set for the level. I know later Halo games, you play legendary difficulty, and there were weekly achievements for like Halo Reach, where it's like, beat this level in like 7 minutes, and they intentionally structured it so that there'd be odd ways like that for you to just bypass everything. And maybe it's not in the spirit of like the game, but like
But it's really
it's
fun.
kind of fun. And if you're doing like replaying the game over and over again, that type of stuff is like makes or breaks a game when you have variability like that. So I think you did it the right way.
Thank you, Rodney.
I think I did it the wrong way because I would have used it. I definitely would have done that if I thought about it.
And then we make our way to the top of that pyramid we were just talking about. And at the top, there are 2 hunters guarding the door. If you're like me, and one of them, I guess, tried to jump down the pyramid to attack me, so I only seen one, and I was confused. I was like, wow, there's normally always 2 of these. And then I started climbing that tower in the middle of the pyramid because I thought something might be up there. There was nothing up there. When I was making my way back down, the other hunter shot a thing from his arm and killed me, and then I got to do it again. But then I found the second hunter.
There you go.
Congratulations.
But barring any other difficulties in this area, unless anyone wanted to mention anything else, this is when we make it to the entrance to the pyramid. And I believe once you open that door, it jumps you forward to the next mission, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a cutscene. That's right.
Yeah, there's a cutscene. Do you want to explain it? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
The Cortana explains that the Halo is Forerunner technology, which from the information that I have is like the primary civilization from a long time ago, or species perhaps would be a better word, and that the Halo itself is some kind of fortress weapon, and that the Covenant knows exactly what it is, and Cortana tells you that it's bad.
And she actually explains that they're afraid of it because they've now figured out it's not what they thought it was. So they didn't actually know what it was, and it hasn't been explained to Master Chief at this point yet, but he just knows that they're afraid of it.
But Cortana, at this point, does she know exactly what it is?
Seems like she did. She just wouldn't tell him.
She didn't tell you.
She specifically says,
"No
Chief,
time.
there's no
Go
time."
stop him.
Yeah. She
Of
says
course, no
that
time.
we have to go stop the captain before he finds this weapon, which turns out not to be a weapon at all.
Got it.
This is like kind of a frustration with me on like a narrative level with not just this game, but with like a lot of the Halo games. Is that I feel like I'm always just kind of somewhat lost, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with the writing. Because they like characters simultaneously like know way too much but don't reveal it, or they know not enough, and I always just feel like I'm kind of going from point A to point B and killing things, and that is the point of the game. Ultimately, the world building and stuff is fun, but like the actual story in each one of these missions, I feel like is just so loosely spread out that it's hard for me to enjoy that element of it. And I'm not knocking it too hard because this is like a 20-something-year-old game at this point. It's really early on the first-person shooter, in the development of the genre. But I don't think the game's ever really moved past this. I just feel like the missions are a lot of times just so loosely related. It's just a point of frustration for me. And I know that, again, audience taking into mind, maybe a lot of people who are playing first-person shooters don't want something that's super narrative heavy. But I guess I've always gone into these games thinking like, oh, sci-fi, I love sci-fi. and wanting something more akin to like Mass Effect, which is extremely, narrative heavy. Different strokes for different folks, so I'm not going to knock it too hard for that. But anyway,
Yeah,
That's fair.
good point. Good point. So, so basically, we're just left with the impression that something very bad is going to happen, but we don't exactly know what. If this weapon is found by either, well, I don't know if the Covenant intend to use this weapon because now they're afraid of it or not, but we do know that Keyes is trying to find this weapon first. And so he is, this is when we split up with our keys. Well, now we gotta go find our keys again. So at this point, we're starting a new mission, and we're dropped off again from a pelican. I believe we're solo again this time, and we're sent through a swampy, jungle-looking area where it's raining, I think. So,
Yeah, it's pretty
this one's
cool
fun
atmosphere.
too.
and I guess I was mistaken. This level is nighttime as well. So, but yeah, basically our objective this time is to now find Captain Keyes. So
Because every time we talk
yeah.
about how this level has this cool environment and this cool setting, I scrub through like the video of the mission I'm looking at, and it's real cool outside jungle for the first 10%, and then it goes into underground basement corridors, and then at the
Yes.
very end, it comes back to the outside jungle.
Yeah. Pretty much every single mission is like that. You're like, wow,
Yeah.
this looks great. And then they're like, funding ran out for.
Go inside.
All right,
Yeah.
copy paste the rest.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No more budget.
So
Hallway time.
the what?
This is a really important level for
Mhm.
like exposition.
Mm-hmm.
Both just like exploration based exposition. Like there's a part where you open a door and there's a wounded Marine standing there like pointing a gun, and he's like, "Get back! Get away from me!"
He's actually
And it's
shooting
like-
me.
Well, yeah, if you like take a step forward, he like starts shooting. And so it's like, oh, that's the scariest thing that's happened in this game so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then you keep going, and there's blood everywhere, and you find some dead Marines, and they have a really cool system where they just record everything. And
Yeah,
then he
I was
takes the chip
surprised
out of
by
their
that.
head, plugs it in, and then you get to see like a recording, effectively like a flashback of what happened to them. And I don't know, it's only a couple minutes long, but it like builds up like, hey, these are people, and then you see them getting attacked by some new unknown enemy, and it's really unsettling. Which
Yeah.
I wasn't super aware of the tone of this game going into it. I didn't expect it to get as like dark as it does.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would say that found footage horror movies are like some of my favorites. So getting a little glimpse of that I was like, ooh, I love this. They should, I haven't watched the Halo TV series, but if it were similar to this, I might actually watch it.
Oh, there's got to be. This has to be one of the episodes. I haven't seen it, but if they didn't make this one of the episodes where it's just from that guy's perspective the whole time, then they messed up.
Just old dude.
Well, it's been canceled, so pretty
Yeah.
sure they messed up.
Yeah, they messed up.
Well, they
somewhere
messed up
along
regardless, but
Yeah, I
go ahead.
I was gonna say I said earlier that the Silent Cartographer is my favorite mission. It's probably actually this one. I think a lot of it has to do with environmental storytelling, and there's a couple of good examples of good environmental storytelling in the back half of the game. But at no point does this really become a horror game. But this is the closest it kind of strays near
For
it.
sure.
And I love like Dead Space, and you get some similar elements here, and it's always fun when you're playing something or watching something or reading something, and you can feel that everything's just off, and that's just like the vibe you get for the first probably like 7 or 8 minutes of this mission before everything starts to break loose.
It's specifically when you're entering this facility, because at least for me, the density of enemies is very minimal compared to what you're used to. And as you get further and further into this facility, you see less and less of the Covenant forces until you get to the area that Kurt was talking about, and there's hardly any enemies there at all. And you're just seeing blood and debris and some fires going, but you're not quite sure what exactly is going on. Walking through this very small corridor with just corpses upon corpses of Covenant laying there, but no one around them. And then you would go through that door, and that soldier's sitting there. So you can assume it was Key Squad clearing the way to the control room. But so I guess I go ahead and jump forward. We talked about the video. Well, after that video ends, basically how that video ends is they are swarmed by a small-looking enemy that's crawling around on the ground. And we're not quite sure at this point what exactly that is. But after that video ends, we are ourselves swarmed by these same enemies. And there's just swarms of those little things crawling all along the ground, as well as you keep progressing through the level. You get the ones that are basically mutating corpses that were on the ground and turning them into bipedal enemies that are going to attack you as well. So, and I don't know at what point we're given the name for these, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now.
Go for it.
The Flood. So, and very fitting for how much they flood the room and surround you. So, so now at this point we're trying to. I think at this point we've determined that Keys is no longer in the facility, or we don't know where he is actually, because the camera just shuts off with him running away or retreating from the location with his remainder of his troops, right?
Yeah.
So I believe at this point now we're just trying to escape the facility and get out of the way of this actual flood of enemies that are now showing up. So
Survive the flood. And
Yes.
Ryder, you laughed at me, but the assault rifle is a great weapon to have when all those little guys are running after you. It
I
has
knew that's what you were.
600 bullets.
Yeah.
Whenever you said the second half of the game you were using it, I agree with that entirely. It's
And
just
it's very
it's
intentional
for
too.
everything else.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
intentional. They
Everywhere.
wanted you to use it because the amount of ammo you found for that gun was just way above anything else, even the alien weapons.
Yeah.
All
And the spread is so like
Mhm.
bad that it's actually really good when you're shooting like the little spore.
It's also really generous because there are times where I would switch like a Magnum or something, and there'd be two little guys running, and I would shoot kind of like in the middle of them, and it would kill both
It would
with
get
one
both
bullet.
of them, yeah.
It's just like I didn't hit.
I
either of
encountered that
those,
a lot,
but
too.
okay.
I think that's like a big holdover from like the console side of things. And that's one of the things that they had to kind of figure out when they were making video game first person shooters for consoles, is that like you can't expect the same precision out of a console player.
Right, you gotta be more
from out the
forgiving.
keyboard. Exactly. And so there's a lot of like tracking and like aim assist and stuff that happens, and I think we see some holdover of that with mouse and keyboard, which feels way more cheaty when that happens than it does with a controller. Like a controller, I'd never noticed that, but when I had these like micro movements of my like hand like this, and I like shoot clearly and miss, and it still kills them. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. That's fine.
All right. So we make our way and fight our way through this facility, basically backtracking partially through where we've already went through. This is where I got lost for like a few minutes because everything looked the same. But I eventually found the way to get back up to the upper area because I had fell down at one point. And then you end up going down 2 different elevators, right, for this mission. And or is it up? One of the two. And you end up meeting a group of Marines that are huddled up and they're getting ready to leave. And so you meet up with them, and don't they tell you that Keys was captured or something of that nature? Or is that later on?
I'll be honest, I don't have any more notes for this level except that you meet a portal robot at the very end.
Okay. I'm pretty sure this is the group that was with him, and they mentioned that he was taken captive or something.
I mean, that stands to reason.
Yeah.
They lost your signal when you were deep inside the structure, tracking movement all over the place.
Mhm.
They lost contact with the rest of the mission and headed for the rendezvous point. And these things ambushed us. We need to get out of here.
Okay.
That's all I say to you.
Okay, so just pretend you didn't hear that from me. So basically, you meet up with these Marines and head back out to the jungle portion of the map, and you're basically on a full-on survival mode again as you're being swarmed by all the flood enemies, and they just never seem to stop spawning. And so you have to make your way to the rendezvous point so you can get out of here as quickly as possible. If you're like me, you think, oh man, your squad's doing great. I'm just going to keep walking forward. I'm going to take out the few that show up. However, if any of the regular Marines get like even remotely near one of the little crawler guys, it jumps on them and just immediately starts turning them into an enemy. like one little one.
Little head
So,
crabs.
kind of funny. But so yeah, we're trying to get out of here, and then we end up going to this structure with a humming, and then you're going to go up to it, and you get a cutscene that introduces a little robot. If you want to tell us about it a bit, Kurt, since you had some notes on it.
So this little robot, he's from Portal, and his name is 343 Guilty Spark. And
Surely there's nothing there in that name.
I actually did not know that that's where 343 Industries got their name. Like, when they took over after Halo Reach, and they did 4, 5, and Infinite, I do believe. They took over the Halo franchise, and I don't know, I just thought they had a random name, 343, whatever. Every studio has a random name, but seeing it have ties to this very first game, I was like, oh, interesting.
I was actually referencing the guilty part, but that too. That's all, that's
I thought you were talking
also-
about 343, but I
Yeah,
could see
no, the
both.
Yeah.
343 part too.
343 Guilty Spark is a really weird name for him. I think later Cortana starts calling him the Monitor.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But he basically is a little robot AI that's responsible for
He monitors the
keep-
Halo ring.
like monitoring the Halo, and then B, stopping the flood should they lose containment.
Mhm.
Yeah, he says his function is to prevent it from leaving this installation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he says, I need your help. Let's teleport. And it's like, we can teleport? he just does it.
can
Yep.
now.
Yep. And that brings us to our next mission called the Library. And I will say, I guarantee this was everyone's favorite mission. Nobody's going to be mad about this mission whatsoever, right, guys?
Not at all.
So before I forget, this is the mission that I think is better with the old graphics.
Interesting.
'Cause with
so
the
you can
old
see where to go,
graphics-
maybe?
Well, the old graphics, the draw distance is like not very far at all. It's a really dark room, and then whenever I would press tab, it was like super bright, like darker colors, but you could see all the way to the far side of the room. But with this, it would just be like enemies running out of the shadows at you, and I feel like it helped with the sort of scary atmosphere that they were going. Yes, it was way too long. Yes, it was a very annoying level, but I thought the atmosphere was really cool walking through this giant silent building being ambushed, like, and just barely surviving in like the shadows. I don't know, I thought it was really cool.
And then I wanted to briefly talk about the different types of flood enemies.
Yeah.
So far, we've seen, and I'm on the wiki for this, so I'm going to use their terms. The infection form, which is the little guys that are everywhere. You have the combat form, which is when they take over a corpse. We talked briefly about those earlier, but they use melee combat. But as you started progressing through the last level, or is it this one? One of the two. They start using the weapons as
It's
well.
this one.
And so that's something you have to keep in mind as you're playing through, is you're going to get attacked by all manner of weapons as you're going through here. And then the last form is the carrier form. So it's a big swollen mass that will fall and explode, and little infection forms will come out of it. Do combat forms explode out of those too? I felt
No,
like they
just
did.
the little guys.
I felt like they did, but they would usually explode, and then another one would jump out from behind them, so it was probably just coincidental.
Those carriers are the worst.
The worst thing was if there would be like two of them side by side, or if you had a grenade. But if there are like two of them side by side, you blow one of them up, and it would like shoot the other one rocketing, and like it never failed. They would always rocket like straight toward me,
Right to
and then
you.
like land like 2 feet away, blow up and kill me. Like it wouldn't necessarily be an insta death, but if they blew up beside you, your shield was at least gone.
Yeah.
Which was at some points in this when you're getting swarmed, insta death essentially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, while we're talking about it,
Yeah, go ahead. I was
through
just
this
saying, there's not really
level-
much to talk about.
it sucks. It's not fun. There were parts where I would be like, man, I think I'm almost having fun here. And then I remember that I'm like an hour into it and I still have no end in sight. I'm like, no, I'm not having fun here. Let's start off at the beginning. It spawns you in. And again, to Kurt's comment about like the draw distance and stuff, maybe this is part of it, but like the flood is supposed to feel overwhelming. It's a parasitic, alien life force that literally eats all life, just devours it, takes it over, makes it its own. And it makes sense that if it's a flood, it's supposed to flood over you. But when I started this, I thought this was we got to run level. Like I
Mm.
thought this was like infinite spawning because they just seem to be coming infinitely within
They
the
do.
first 30 seconds,
Well,
and
they
you
really
move to
are
the
in
next
some
room.
sections.
And well, if you stay long enough, you can kill every one of them, and I did that through the entire thing because the
Yeah.
checkpoints are
That's how you kill 'em.
so spread out that I was like, I have to make sure I played defensively, which is
Yeah.
why this took so long because I would just move around in circles and jump up and down to keep the little dudes
Mhm.
off me. And it took me probably like an hour and a half to finish this. And like I said, the first like probably 6 deaths I had was because I was just trying to like run through it, and I was thinking, how are you supposed to survive this like endless amount of enemies? And then I realized after like the sixth time, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm supposed to like take this bit by bit. But
Mhm.
it's very frustrating, and I will say that like you run out of ammo the entire time. If you're someone like Joseph who doesn't like Breath of the Wild's
Mhm.
weapon deterioration, you're probably gonna hate having to trade your weapon literally once every 2 minutes. You're just having to drop it. Eventually, you get to the point with like for me using the shotgun where I had consistent enough ammo, but most everything I was pretty much just having to like trade constantly because you're just
Mhm.
burning through ammo. There's so many enemies.
I
And
will
it
say.
doesn't help
Mhm.
from like an enjoyability perspective that there's only 4 different types of enemies at this point. So you're fighting hundreds of guys, but it's just 4 kinds, and it's just the same 4 kinds over and over and over.
Just with different
And
weapons.
yeah, and then they would spawn randomly. Like it wasn't a consistent wave and then you beat it and then you moved on. I would like defeat a whole wave. I'd be like, sweet. And I would go walk to the next room and all of a sudden I would just get waylaid from behind from like 3 guys that just showed up. And it's just like, where'd you come from? And they're spawning from like the walls and the ceilings and like jumping down and climbing out at random times. And it's just like what is triggering this? Like what is the timing on how these enemies are appearing? I would end up sandwiched by like because when I'm shooting I'm like walking backwards trying to keep space between me and the enemy, and then all of a sudden there's a whole another group behind me and it's like I just came from that direction, how is
Right.
there a group behind me? It's
Mm-hmm.
really, and like maybe that's the point, but it's not enjoyable.
So.
And they don't always die either.
Mhm.
Like you can shoot them, blow
They
them
get up.
apart, and
Fall
then they'll
down and
come
get back
back.
up. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just again the bullet sponginess of these enemies already, plus like I was having to drain extra ammo into their corpses just to make sure they weren't gonna get back up, and it's tedious. It's very tedious. It kills a lot of the momentum of the late part of the game to me
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
to be stuck trudging through this for as long as this level
So
drags on.
it's a really
let's
long level.
let's check real quick. So Ryder, you said you stopped, killed every enemy, and then moved forward. What did you do, Kurt?
I did the same thing.
Okay, and Joe.
Started out stopping killing everything, but after I died 40 times, I tried running through everything. That didn't work either. I died 40 more times. I started over, stopped killing everything, running out of ammo all the time. This is actually when I stopped playing the game.
Is
When I was
actually what?
originally, this is when I stopped playing the game.
Oh.
When I was originally playing this for my own sake because I wanted to experience the greatness that is Halo because I've always heard such good things about it. I got to this point and I was just playing. I was at the house by myself for a while, and my wife came back home. She came in. She was like, "Why are you so upset?" And I was so frustrated from playing this level for the last 2.5 hours, running out of ammo constantly, just meleeing every piece of infected that came across to try and save ammo. And I was constantly out. I was constantly picking up more weapons, constantly fighting enemies, and I was in the same room. It looked like the same room because you would go through one corridor, go up an elevator, go through the same corridor, go up an elevator, go through the same corridor, go up an elevator. It
Yeah.
was so monotonous. It
that.
was so boring. It was so frustrating, and I hated it so much that I stopped playing
All right.
until we said that we were going to play this. And then I
Until you
picked it
made
back
him.
up again,
And then I forced
Yep.
him back in.
and then I was
All
put
right.
back in.
So I kind of did a mix of the two. So this was the level I did learn that you only get a checkpoint if you've killed every enemy near you. So if there are enemies still coming at you in an area, it won't give you the checkpoint if there's one there.
Mhm.
And so that causes you to have to repeat sections that you barely made it through because you were running through and then died in the next one. So I had to do a mix of the two. So the longer hallways that had the arrows on the floor that you could follow the arrows, I did that and just ran through the hallways, ignored everything. And then when you got to the part where the guy has to open the locked doors, that would be a survive area where if I died at that survival point, I'd have to rerun that hallway again. But because I got to run through the hallway, I didn't have to do any of that fighting, and I could consistently keep my ammo for just the open the door sections. So that was kind of how I did this. But the fun part is whenever you get done with a floor and you ride the elevator, just the game gives you the little names of the area you're in. Well, after you take the first elevator, this one's called Wait. It gets worse. And then you get to do it again. And then you fight your way through. And then you get another one. And this one's very fitting because this one was called But I Don't Want to Ride the Elevator. And I felt that in my soul. There were a few sections in here that I had to replay quite a bit because I was trying to do that running through it method. And I would get very annoyed whenever I'm almost through the level. Someone is sitting on top of a pillar with a assault rifle, and they have better aim than Master Chief himself with it. And they would just drop my shield, and I would just go down, and I'd have to do it all over again. But I was not fighting all those enemies, and it still took me probably equal amounts of time it took you to. So I can imagine it's probably pretty similar.
I think that this level, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I don't think it's good. I think it's arguably kind of bad, and I don't think that's very controversial because I looked it up later on because I was like, am I being a wimp? And if I'm a wimp, so is like probably 70% of Halo's fan base. There's a small group of people who are like, that's my favorite level in the game. But those people are like the masochists who enjoy the unending waves. And actually, I do kind of get the argument because some people want it because it's the closest that it comes to like a game mode of having like infinite waves of the flood coming against you, you know. And like I enjoy stuff like Call of Duty Zombies.
Just play Call of Duty Zombies.
I was gonna say,
but there's not enough variability in this though to give me that feeling, you know. And that's how I don't understand that argument because I'm like that there's not enough weapons. The enemy types are too, you know, similar. There's not enough abilities. It's just an unending slog of me just walking through these like repetitious like hallways, and I don't know. I just don't think it's. I think if they cut a floor and then the first floor, if it was like half the length, but it does not help the pacing when the first floor is almost like probably 40% of the length of the level. So by the time you finally get done with the first floor, your mental state, at least mine, is already like, oh my god, that was horrible. And then you get to another elevator, and you get to another elevator, and then
there's another elevator
floors of it. And they do get progressively shorter, but that first floor just already just like mentally put me in a bad mindset.
And then we were talking earlier about the arrows on the floor. Well, this is the level where some of the arrows can't be followed, or they can partially. Because at some points, like Ryder had said earlier, there'll be arrows that can tell you to continue going forward. However, your actual path is a hole in the ground that you have to go through, a tunnel. And so that's when you get swarmed again by flood. And then you have to repeat a whole section again because you got swarmed and there wasn't a checkpoint for a hot minute. Yeah.
Would it be okay with the group if I said two nice things about this level?
Sure.
The first one is that it is kind of cool. Towards the very end, the 343 gets the Sentinels, which are like drones, to like fight with you, and they have lasers that like just are shooting at the flood, and that is very helpful, and it feels really cool having backup, similar to how, you know, if the Marines were somewhat competent at surviving, you know, same kind of feel. But also, 343 is just kind of funny. Like, he's not hilarious or anything, but I remember one time he was just sitting there, and I was like, what happens if I hit you? And I, like, hit him with the butt of my gun, and he said, please stop being human. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. So, I don't know. That was entertaining.
I thought that was fun, too. And, like, the flood actually responds to it, not just, like, being meat sponges still, but they'll actually try to attack, like jump up and like hit the Sentinels. So that's kind of fun too. I do like that. That's like floor 3 is when that kicks in, though. It takes a while
Yeah,
before
it
you
takes
get
a
to
while.
that.
I do think they're trying to like inject a little bit of humor into this and make it a
Mhm.
little more interesting. Um, because I made some jokes about Portal, but like I'm legitimately comparing it right now. In Portal, it is a lot of running through hallways and shooting and blah blah blah, a kind of repetitive gameplay. But what makes it so entertaining throughout is that there's constantly interesting dialogue happening, and they try to do that a little bit with this with 343 saying like, "Oh, I have to go do this. I'll be back." And then as soon as he leaves, like a giant wave of stuff like comes and attacks you. And there's some humor in that, but it's not compelling or well written enough like interactions between these characters to make what you're doing feel not monotonous.
Hmm. I agree.
All right, we can keep hating this level now.
Okay. I didn't really have anything else really to say about it.
The
But
music is good.
I was gonna say I'm
Yeah,
fairly
true.
certain, at least for my difficulty, the enemies in some parts did infinitely spawn.
Mm.
And I tested that for a fact on a different level. I think it's the one after this one. But I did for a fact check that. I sat on a turret and just shot down this hallway in this cave, and the flood were coming towards you, and I just sat on that turret and just held the button down and like just sat here and watched, and they never stopped. And then I ran past it and died, and then I got to do it again. So yeah, some portions, at least in that difficulty, did have infinite respawn. I'm assuming the library might have had some portions like that, but maybe not.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Apparently, there are some parts that infinitely respawn.
Okay.
Not every single wave, but some of the sections of the map.
Okay. So, anyone else want to complain about this level? If not, I can give you a high-level breakdown of the story and move on forward.
Yeah, tell us what we find out.
Yes. So at this point, we get to the very last portion, and we're working with 343. And out of the floor shows this green metallic flowing metal thing, and we're supposed to pick it up. Is this the point where Cortana jumps in, or is that later?
Like right after, like the next cutscene.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was right here or not, but basically she comes in and tries to stop us. She's like, "Chief, what are you doing?" She said, "You are going. Has he not told you what is going on?" So 343's goal of stopping the flood, because the only way it spreads is through life, was to kill all the life in the surrounding
Essentially, the entire galaxy.
I was gonna say the galaxy, right?
25,000 light years.
Yeah.
It's the radius.
Say that again.
25,000 light years is the radius.
Yeah.
It's like the entire galaxy,
Yeah.
like just
Pretty
completely
much.
dead.
All the life. So, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna do. Yeah, that's how you stop the flood." Which he never
He's like,
said. He
like,
never
"You
said
didn't know
how.
this?"
Yeah, he's like, "You never asked me how I was doing it. I just told you I was gonna stop the flood, and that's what I was gonna do." And
Well,
so,
and
yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, this is, part of me looking into like the lore side of this. He refers to you as the Reclaimer,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "Why would you hesitate now for something you've already done?" And to me, I thought that was like an intentionally written dialogue. It kind of sounded like 343 Guilty Spark was talking to you as if you were one of the older or like original people who built the installation. Like he's unable to distinguish your actions from those of like the original builders, like the forerunners. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but
See,
no,
I seen it differently actually. I was gonna say how I seen it was that he's seen you murdering the Covenant, he's seen you murdering the Flood, he's seen you murdering life, and he's like, why is it different just to get rid of all of it at once versus going around shooting it?
I think it has to do with the Forerunners, which created Guilty Spark. They were like, I think, wiped out by the flood, and then the humans are somehow related to the ancient Forerunners, and so I think they're just saying
That's
the
why we have
humans are
pyramids.
Reclaimers.
Yeah.
And so like Master Chief is the Reclaimer. Sorry, John, if you said that. I was kind of reading on the side.
No, you're good. I said that's why we have pyramids. The
Exactly. That's
Forerunners,
exactly
yeah.
why we have pyramids, because of the Forerunners.
So no, I had said something a bit different. I was thinking that when Ryder was talking about the Forerunners, I was like, is that true? I'm gonna have to play the other Halo games to find out, I guess. All Spartans are
It
just secretly direct descendants of Forerunners.
it goes into it. I think they come back up in like Halo 4.
It only took them 3 games to bring them back up.
I think they come up like intermittently, and of course like
Right.
the books and stuff. But I think you don't see like direct, like a super direct reasoning until like the 4th game. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
All right, so that finishes off everyone's favorite level, the library, and we kind of intermingled the cutscenes that start after that with the ones that ended. But basically, we are teleported to a tower of some sort, I think, because we're in a big circular room, and that's when we were brought to the control panel to basically kill all the life. But we stop ourselves. Cortana brings us back and is like, "Hey, why are you doing this? Don't do that." And so 343 gets mad and he sends a group of the Sentinels to start attacking you, and you're now trying to make your way out of the facility to try to beat him from. Well, what was he doing exactly? Actually, now that I think about it, because if we had all the capabilities to do it right then, what were we stopping him from doing? I can't quite recall. I know.
343.
Yeah, what was he about to
You're
do
stopping him.
next?
He was about to
He
end
needed
all life
Cortana.
in the galaxy.
Right, but
Yeah.
why couldn't he just do it right then when we were about to do it?
I think he needs Cortana to unleash something.
I think Cortana took something that was necessary.
That's right.
Yeah,
she did.
I think
Okay.
the reason you went to the library was to get basically the key to activate the weapon, and Cortana
Stole it.
Data stole it.
Okay. So he's trying to stop us. We're going to escape, and we're going to try to just completely shut down the capabilities of doing that. So we're now making our way back through the previous level that we did earlier to get into the pyramid facility. Now we're going to do that in reverse, and this is where we get access to the Banshee if you haven't used it yet. And you can fly around to the different upper areas of the same maps that we did before with new enemies and new spawns and everything. And you just have to fight your way to shut off these basically
Pulse
beams in the center
generators.
of a room. Yes, generators. And Cortana has equipped us with a EMP that works with our shield. So when we go near it and our shield explodes, it also does an EMP now. However, that leaves you a bit vulnerable whenever your shields go away and you have one little sliver of health.
Yeah.
And then magically all the enemies flood into the room after you do that. And so then you get mad and have to do that like 12 times in a row. But anyway,
Not on normal mode.
true. So does
I
anyone
had to
want to...
do it like twice on one of these.
I will say the biggest struggle I had where I got most frustrated was probably this level. Because when I came down the pyramid, I wanted to slide down the side cliffs. I didn't want to fight all this stuff all the way down the cliff, and that's what I did. When you make it to the ground, on the right side of the pyramid, there's a big empty space right there in front of you, and then there's 2 small rocks that you can crouch behind only. You get a checkpoint when you hit the ground when you're not at the pyramid. So whenever you hit the ground, that checkpoint hits, and then you got to make your way to the Banshees to take them. Cortana explicitly tells you need the Banshees. So I was stuck in this corner with those 2 little rocks to hide behind, and there's like three or 4 elites I have to fight my way through, a bunch of jackals, a bunch of grunts, as well as the wraith protecting the Banshees. I was stuck in that corner for a long time. Because it would reload that same checkpoint, me right there in that corner, and I, in my stubbornness, refused to go back and restart the level.
The mission.
Yeah.
So I stayed in that corner and finally figured out that if I go up the pyramid some, because there's no enemies at the very bottom apparently, loop around to the other side, I picked up a rocket launcher on the other side of the pyramid, came back, and then I showed them all how angry I was from how many times they murdered me by blowing them up with a rocket launcher. So
That is correct.
I
Yeah,
also missed the rocket launcher. this was like a cool mission because you're flying all over the place, going to these checkpoints and whatnot. But I missed the rocket launcher and apparently missed every other weapon I was supposed to pick up because for the entire second half of the mission, I only had an assault rifle and like no other ammo from anything. And I didn't have enough weapons to like kill any Covenant members or any Flood and then steal their weapons. So I don't know. I either it's a very different kind of level than the rest of the game, or I played it completely wrong. But I basically played this like a stealth game and like snuck around the edges, tried to instigate fights between the Covenant and the Flood, and then like hide until they finished, and then go in and like take out the last couple people with like grenades or melee attacks or whatever. It was somewhat frustrating, kind of a strange level for
And
me.
you see, this is like the very first level where you're fighting all three factions at once.
Yeah.
So you're fighting the Covenant, you're fighting the Flood, and you're also fighting the Sentinels. And I don't know if this was like that for you guys, but the human weapons, except for the shotgun and the rocket launcher, obviously, did not work on the Sentinels for me. I could not kill a Sentinel with an assault rifle. It was not making its way through their shields. I had to pick up a plasma rifle or something like that to take out Sentinels. So, it's very interesting that I had to do that, but I just couldn't break through their shields, I guess, with a full entire clip of the assault rifle or anything. So it was a real struggle unless I swapped to a plasma weapon, which I didn't know that was a thing. So
I refuse to use the assault rifle, so I wouldn't know. But the shotgun, though, shotgun works on everything.
yes.
You just got to line up the hit within like the right distance spread.
I think your guys had like extra health because I was able to like not defeat them easily with an assault rifle, but I'm pretty sure you can break their shields eventually.
And then basically the premise of this level is we have to go to 3 different of these generators and take them out. And then honestly, this level can be as quick or as long as you want it to take because you have the Banshee. So after you get the Banshee for the first one, I literally flew down the hallway down there and just ignored all the enemies in this entire area.
Yeah.
And then opened the door down there and then just got... Oh, wait, does the door open all the way right there? I think it makes you lose the Banshee at one point, but I don't know if it's right here or not.
There's always new ways to like get another Banshee, but like, you're right about being able to skip sections of the level.
And then I got very lucky in the second portion between the first tower or the generator and getting to the second one. I found the Banshee immediately, and I had already found a ghost, and so I literally just sat there and shot the Wraith with the ghost from so far away where it had to arc the shots at me. So I was just easily avoiding all the shots from the Wraith, and I just grabbed the Banshee and got the second one so easy. I was quite happy that I happened to find him instantly, basically.
I did the same thing. Every time I was in an area where there was a Banshee and a ton of enemies, I would just get in the Banshee, fly around, shoot some, turn around, get my health back, and then fly back in and keep shooting.
I think in that section with the Wraith was one of the ones where I had to like sneak, just like literally glued myself along the left side of the map while the Flood and Covenant fought, and then snuck past them around the Wraith. And then by the time they started shooting at me, I was like climbing into a Banshee that was behind their lines, and then I just flew away. I didn't bother finding anybody. I was just like, I'm out.
Is that you're talking about like the second time where you have to go get a Wraith?
Second time you get the Banshee. Yeah.
Banshee.
Yeah, it's like a big snowy field, and there's Covenant in the middle and in the back, and then there's Flood on either side going in.
Yeah, that to me was like pretty difficult, but it's because the turrets there would just light you up, and so I tried running it a couple of times just to cut through the fighting, and I kept on losing too much health, and so this plasma pistol came in handy because I just would train it directly on the turret and just spam it and kill whoever was driving it or shooting it, and then like run as far as I could, and then do that again and keep that going until eventually I got to the Banshee. But that section was pretty difficult. But I like this level. Overall, I like this level. I do think it is kind of tedious because a lot of the hallways again look very similar. The arrows point the wrong direction, which is kind of frustrating. But I like, again, the kind of environmental storytelling here. I like seeing the like specifically the Covenant and the Flood fighting each other. It was like a full out war almost between the two of these factions. You know, like fight for survival essentially. And the Covenant is pretty much losing at every turn. It's fun, you know, you showing up in the middle of it and them not really paying attention to you for most of it until you know, get a little too close to an elite, and then all of a sudden they forget each other and they're like, "Oh, kill Master Chief." Like, I'm the only guy helping you out right now. Like, come on.
Right.
Yeah, it would be cool if the AI was programmed such a way that if the flood was there and you weren't actively attacking the Covenant, that the Covenant would ignore you to help fight the flood.
Right.
But
Because
I get it. It was 2001. I get it.
I'm pretty sure that every instance I've seen the Covenant and the Flood fighting, the Flood always won. So
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah. It's some bullet spongy.
okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, just because we've already talked about this level a good bit, is there anything else we wanted to bring up at this level about this level, or do you guys want to continue forward? I think we have 2 more
Really
missions.
glad there were waypoints.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
actually told you where to go.
Even
Yes.
then, it was kind of confusing at some points.
Mhm.
There was a bunch of times where at the in between in these corridors where I would get mixed up. It's I'm not gonna say it's like the most egregious example of this. Ultimately, like I did enjoy this level, but I got pretty frustrated with like the copy and paste corridors.
Yeah.
It was hard to navigate a lot of times.
And the arrows were backwards because you were you're going backwards in the level because we've already done this level.
Mm-hmm. It was frustrating, but ultimately, like I said, I did like this. I did mean to bring this up earlier, talking about the library. I'm sorry, I don't want to dwell on this too long. Talking about the flood and the
Yeah.
different enemy types they have. Um, did anyone get one-shotted by the rocket launcher flood guy the very first time he popped up? Because you like come around the corner and he's at such a distance, and all of a sudden it's just like
Yeah.
glowing light, and
I know
then
what you're talking about.
you're dead.
Yep,
Like
I
a
did.
deer in headlights. Like, what is that light
Yeah,
coming at
yeah,
me?
yeah. I was like
Really
thinking it was
moving.
an enemy. Like, what is this? It's it. Yeah, I just remembered that and thought it was pretty funny. I meant to bring that up earlier.
Mhm. Okay. Barring any other discussion of this level, basically the premises, we take out those 3 generators, and then Cortana gives a discussion with us that we need to find keys. Either we need to find him or his neural implant, so that we can get so that we can blow up the Pillar of Autumn. Yes, I was forgetting the ship name there. But the premise of blowing up the ship is so that we can destroy the whole Halo ring. So we can take out the Flood, but with not taking out all the life in the galaxy. So that is what we are doing next.
Seems like a far more reasonable plan. I don't know.
You would think.
Well, okay,
Robot brain.
yes, but here's like the other side of it, right? We can get there like at the very end. Let's wait. Let's wait. I want
Okay.
to talk about this actually when it comes time.
Okay, sounds good. Remind us, because I'm sure I'll forget. So that brings us to mission number 9, which is just called Keys. So basically, we are now we're getting a flying view of the interior of a Covenant cruiser, and it's infested with floods. So now our mission is to infiltrate this ship, to rescue Keys again from another Covenant cruiser. This time,
the same Covenant cruiser.
oh, is it the same one? That's
I
hilarious.
do believe it's the exact same ship, the exact same person, and the
That's
exact
funny.
same trap. Well, that's
So-
not the exact same trap.
So we're getting onto the ship in order to save him again because he's been captured, which makes sense because he's the captain of the ship. But this time it's being infected with floods, so you're fighting through Flood and Covenant, and then having to fight them as well as they're fighting each other. So you get blown up by plasma grenades, maybe like 50 more times than you usually do. It's definitely an adventure.
Yeah,
This is the go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
This is the level that I got the most frustrated with exploring. There's one particular section where it's just a maze of like intersecting hallways,
Mm-hmm.
and there's ramps that go up and ramps that go down, and eventually I make my way to like the ground floor, and it's like the big hangar room, and there's a giant platform in the middle, and there's some elite on top, and I was sneaking past them, and there's a door on the left. Go through that door, hit like there's literally one room you can walk in that just has 4 dead ends. It's like, okay, I'll go back, and then you go out that door again. There's another door, same thing. It actually goes to the same place. It's just more dead ends, and then you go all the way around, and there's another dead end. And it's like this whole room was nothing, and it turns out I had to go back all the way around the direction I came from and go up the ramp instead of going down the ramp a different direction. And I don't know, maybe they did some way to signal where I was going and I just missed it, or I was just running, not paying attention, but I got really lost and really annoyed with this level.
There's another section where it like the main path is in front of you and it takes you up to an upper area. But when you get to the upper area, it plays a cutscene and it's like you need to go down that way. But that was the same hallway you could have just walked in if you didn't go up the ramp in the first place. So so I think some of it was intentional. So
frustrating.
There's another section at the very beginning of this chapter where you're on the ship and you're going through a few different corridors and there's a big hole that you're supposed to jump down.
I
and
almost
you look
missed
over
that.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they tell you is all I detect down there is some kind of coolant. We should continue our search somewhere else. I turned around and started looking elsewhere.
There was no elsewhere, right?
Yeah, this is one of the areas where there are endlessly spawning enemies that spawn behind you as soon as you turned around. So I just sat there killing enemies for a long time until I ran out of ammo. Finally just started running through there, and I went down every corridor in this area that there was, and there was no other way to go. So I ended up, Googling what you're supposed to do, and yeah, you're supposed to jump down that pool of acid.
So I don't know if you missed it or not, but Cortana gives you a cue. Like the fighting went on long enough, and she was like, "Chief, that coolant's starting to sound better and better."
Yeah,
And
she
then-
did say that, and I
funny.
was like, that sounds like what I'm not supposed to do.
Okay. So you're
So
just stupid.
I guess I'm just stupid. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned this because one of the complaints I had in a lot of the other levels, including in the library, is that sometimes there's just random holes in the ground, and sometimes they're like glass, and so they aren't holes, and then an enemy will shoot and miss you and break the glass, and then so you back up and fall into a hole. So about half of my deaths in this game were just from falling to my death, and so I was just sprinting through that hallway, Joe, and I turned through the door and I just started falling, and I literally like almost broke my mouse, like death gripped it because I thought that I had just died and I was gonna have to redo all that. And then they played the cutscene of him landing, and I was like, oh, okay, that was supposed to happen. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you're more careful than me.
I guess.
in that case, that was your doom.
I guess I read the line where it says, "Let's not do this." And I was like, "Oh, silly me."
I didn't even
took
get
that to
any
heart.
lines about the hole. It was just like shooting, run, cutscene, and I was just like, what is happening? It was just a hole in the ground. So I bumbled my way through too fast, I guess.
So we drop our way through that hole, and then I think there's only a bit more area. We have to climb up through a shuttle bay, and then we eventually find the main corridor of like the control center of the ship. And we get there, and there's a large green mass with a person in it, and it turns out that is in fact the captain. So I think Cortana talks to us briefly and is like, "Yep, well, we can't save him now." And so the scene cuts to Master Chief's point of view, like looking at him instead of his point of view, and it shows him just punch and then grab the chip, and then it cuts back and there's just a big hole in his head.
Yeah.
So I forgot the whole neural implant part of that
Yeah.
whenever I was watching it. And I thought that she was like, well, you know what you got to do, Chief, or what he would
Kill
want
him.
us to do. And I was like, yeah, so like, let's like shoot him or blow him up or something. And then he like punches a hole through his head. And I was like, what? And then he's like, I thought he was crushing a bug, but what it is, he's holding the implant and like pops it in his helmet, I guess. But I'd completely forgotten about that until she mentions it a few minutes later, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I was thinking this is like the most gruesome way you could do this. Like, just shoot the poor guy. Don't punch a hole through his head.
Right.
I like that for It reminded me of The Thing. I know Kurt has seen that. I don't know if you, Joseph, or John have seen it. It's amazing sci-fi and body horror, but like that's a lot of fun. I enjoy body horror and sci-fi. I think it's like really fun. So that
What a
was
sentence.
Cool.
that's a real
No,
thing.
that's valid. It's valid. Before we move on, I remembered one more thing. The way that you get here from the previous mission
Mm-hmm.
is Master Chief's like, "I'll steal a ship," and Cortana's like, "There's no time. I saw Guilty Spark teleport you once, so that means I can teleport you now." And then
Once.
Yeah.
the ship, she teleports you, but she's teleporting you to the other side of the halo, and she doesn't like correct for the fact that the ground is facing the opposite direction, and so when you spawn in from the teleporting, Master Chief is upside down and like
Oh.
hits the ground.
That was fun.
And at first I was like, oh, that's like a weirdly like cartoon comedy moment in this, but then I realized it was kind of a smart joke because again it's the halo shape.
Right.
I thought it was like just Cortana being a jerk for a second for no
That's
reason,
kind of
but
funny.
no, yeah, it's a pretty funny scene.
So we successfully liberate the neural chip from Keys, and now we have the keys to the Pillar of Autumn, literally. And now we have to fight our way out of this facility. I did something called a big brain move here. Whenever I made it to the hangar bay, I seen the Banshees come in, and so I preemptively was like, I wonder if that's how I'm gonna leave. And so I ran over to that part of like the upper deck, and the guys immediately got out, and I waited because Cortana started talking, and she was like, "Chief, use the Banshees to get out of here quick." And then they had already, because I was waiting to hear what she was gonna say, I ended up dying. But there was a checkpoint right before that, so I just ran there, waited for them to get out, and before they could like move or anything, but they got out of the ship, I just fell on top of it and just left.
Yeah.
But had it not been for her talking to me and I wanted to know what she was going to say, I could have gotten out of there without a death, and I was excited. But that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I died like 8 times trying to jump to them and kept on like falling to my death. Like I
Really?
tried over and over again. I think I didn't have enough health
Oh,
for it, is what it was, and there's no pickups, and so because it immediately takes your shield if you hit the floor,
mm-hmm.
and then some of your health, and I think I just had like just under half, and it was enough that it would kill me every time. So I had to like go through a firefight all the way back down, and it was not fun because there's so many like elites down there, and they're all at this point in the game, it's just plasma grenade central,
Yep.
and you just have to strafe the entire time you're in a gunfight. You can't sit still at all anymore. The name of the game is just like run and gun.
Yeah.
So it was
sure.
very difficult for me to get back out of there because I had, like I said, pretty limited health, and that's a big problem here at the end of the game for me in general. It's just there's not a lot of health pickups, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the checkpoints checkpoint your health as well.
They do.
So,
They do.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're at like 30% health,
That's what you're at.
yeah.
There were several levels that I made it through with like 1 health
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because I would just checkpoint and never find more health and just eventually brute force my way through to the next checkpoint with 1 health.
It forces you to play again defensively, which I do. I do think that's kind of something I can commend the game on, because if you want to like try to play it like you're playing Doom, you can do that, but it's not going to last for very long. And then the other side is if you only have 1 health bar, you could play it very defensively and still finish the game. It's just going to take a lot longer.
Absolutely. So I will say I did get stuck a lot right after you get that cutscene with Keys. I got stuck whenever you're trying to go down that left hallway that's just filled with elites and grunts, and the grunts now have the grunt rocket launchers, and the flood are coming from that other door. So I end up having to let them fight for like, I don't know, 30 seconds to clear out the hallway for me. And then I would try to run through the hallway and clear out the flood. Luckily, this was a point where once you get in that hallway, the flood do not spawn infinitely. They do spawn infinitely if you stay in that upper part of the hallway. So I ended up getting a checkpoint between where I kept getting stuck with that hallway full of grunts with their plasma grenade launchers or whatever they are at that point, and the flood stopping spawning down there. So I finally got a checkpoint that I was happy with and could actually get to the end of this level. So. Anything else on this one?
Let's wrap
I
it up.
think
All right. What's that, Joe?
I was gonna say I think this is the level where I bumped it down to easy because before you get gravity lifted into the Covenant ship to save keys was where you get a sniper rifle, and this was the area where I did unload
I know what you're
every
talking about.
bullet.
It's before you get on the ship. Yes.
Yeah, because enemies do infinitely spawn. I don't
Yes,
know if
they
one
do.
of my what do you call them, the hunters were glitched or something. I did unload every bullet that sniper rifle gave me into his head, and he just kept on going.
See, that's where the
Oh,
armor is. You got to hit him in the
yeah,
back.
you can't shoot the hunters in the head.
I guess
So-
not.
So yeah,
Silly me.
this is where I fully confirmed where I was talking about earlier, where I just sat on that turret on the ground and just shot down a hallway. That was the
Yep.
flood never stopped, and I just had a pile of corpses there, and then I immediately died, and I
what I
just
did
ran
too.
past it after that. So,
Yep.
but anyway, this now brings us to our last mission called the Maw, and so basically we are now in our stolen Banshee. And it cuts to a scene of the Pillar of Autumn now crashed on the Halo ring. And now you are going back through the Pillar of Autumn to try to get to the command center of the ship so that you can detonate or make the generators for the ship start to detonate.
Yeah, trying to use the engine as like a bomb to
Oh, the
blow up
engine.
the whole ring.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and this is where they use their second joke of the game,
Go
and
for
they
it.
have Master Chief is like flying, and Cortana's like, "Go up," and then he crashes into the side of the rocks or the ship or something, and then you see him like climbing up into the ship from there, and Cortana's like, "You did that on purpose," and it's like, do they have like a relationship where they mess with each other? Like, is that what's happening? And
Yeah.
like, because I've definitely seen that in later games, but it just
Mhm.
in this first game, there's like two cutscenes where they're kind of picking at each other, and that's it.
I think Cortana was not his like personal AI or anything.
Right.
Right.
At the beginning
She
of
was
this,
She was
the
the
ship.
ship.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like you're seeing them build a relationship.
Or they're like
Mhm.
bonding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
The ship.
I respect, but I will say that I didn't really care. I'm not even trying to be like just rude about it, but like later games, Cortana, I enjoy her a little bit more, but most of her like dialogue here, I kind of felt like she was Ocarina of Time little
How dare
fairy.
you? How dare you? You don't even know
I
her name.
honestly, anytime, exactly.
Hey,
That's how
listen.
annoying she is. I tried to block it out.
Navi?
But yeah, Navi. I thought it was Navi, but then my brain was like, no, that's Avatar. But yeah. Anytime she starts talking, my brain is just like, man, this is useless. This is entirely useless. Like it's just mostly exposition, like bad jokes, and I didn't care, man. Really didn't.
Well, at the time, maybe she was an AI. Maybe she become more human as we went along.
The only Halo game I played that had Cortana in it was Halo 4, and I'm pretty sure she like turned super evil in that one because of some kind of
Spoilers.
corruption. Sorry. Uh sorry
fine.
for the spoilers for the game that people don't like from a decade ago.
Now, people
Uh,
thought Halo 4 was okay. It was 5.
It
you
was
remember?
5 that's the bad one.
I remember
I
people
don't
being
know.
like, I don't know about 343 Industries. Halo 4 is not it. And then people with 5 were like, maybe Halo 4 wasn't so bad. But it wasn't they thought Halo 4 was
It's 'cause-
good, it just wasn't as bad.
Their expectations were lowered for 5, and then they made them
They're so
lower them
disappointed.
again so much that 4 was good in comparison.
But all that to say is I didn't really like Halo, or sorry, I didn't really like Cortana when I
Oh.
played Halo 4. But I understood that she was somewhat beloved as a character.
Mhm.
And obviously I still haven't played 2 and 3. Maybe I'll get around to that and kind of understand it. But I thought she was fine. I thought she was a fine companion throughout. I didn't dislike her the way that Ryder, you're seeming to. And it's fine that your opinion is different. I just want to be slightly positive on that, on her as a character.
To me,
Yeah.
it was just like filler, and there's so minimal dialogue in this entire game, and just a little bit that I got, I was just kind of miffed because I was like, really, this is it? Just the occasional like jab, comedic joke,
Right.
Which the other side of this is like Master Chief in this game is way more human than he is in later games, and
Mm-hmm.
actually talks a little bit more and engages a little bit more, and I enjoyed, I guess, that element again for his little dialogue that's in this. But let's keep going on this.
Okay. So we are fighting our way through our original ship. This is where our tutorial level was. You'll see a lot of familiar things as you're running through there. You'll be fighting Flood and Covenant at this point, and you'll make your way to the control center of the ship. And that is when Cortana basically tells you, 343 is actually here somewhere, and he is blocking me from doing basically a remote detonation on the engines. So now you have to manually go do it yourself. And so that's what you're going to go do. So now you make your way to, I believe it's engineering, to go and do a sort of, I'm not going to call it a puzzle, but sort of like a time-based thing where you have to go up to these terminals. You're fighting the Flood, and instead of Covenant, you're now fighting Flood and
Sentinels.
Thank you. And so they're going to be fighting in this big, large room, and you have to go up to these terminals, activate it where it moves off the safety cover, basically, for the engine. And you have to time your rocket launcher shots or plasma grenades into the holes whenever the vents let loose. And you have to do this 4 times, 2 on one side of the room, 2 on the other side of the room. What were your thoughts on this section?
Who wants to complain?
Well, I'll go first.
Lost again.
Yeah, go for it, John.
So I ended up going up the first ramp I seen when you get in there. There's not really any enemies in the room at this point. I went up the ramp, I went around, and there's a section that has a fallen over like core of some sort, and it has 2 vertical cores, and they're right next to one of those pathways you can walk across that move whenever you click the button. So I was just using that path to jump on the walkway there instead of taking the staircases up like it wants you to do, I guess. And I was running across those and jumping, and half the time the Sentinels were not even shooting at me. And then the Flood couldn't get to where I was except for the odd 1 or 2. And so I would just run. The equivalent of a run jump is when you jump earlier to get a bigger leap in this game. And it would let me land on the platform. I would click the button and just jump back on the things you could run on. And I repeated that for the 4. I did die a lot still because every now and again I would fall off or something stupid would get me. But, because, they do more damage in the heroic. But that I did end up getting a checkpoint in one of the hallways when I was like halfway done. So every time I would die, I'd only have to do 2 more. So all in all, I didn't have too much trouble in this room compared to the last level. So I didn't really have that many complaints about this one.
But before I let Ryder go into it, I hope, I want to talk about the jump for a second. The jump is both too floaty to feel accurate and not floaty enough to feel like a good traversal option. Because I know exactly what you're talking about with those. I think they're like crates or something. I don't know what they're supposed to be, but those pieces of the ship, whatever, and one of them's knocked over. And it's like very clearly this is meant to be a staircase.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And,
I didn't know if it was
and
intentional.
you guys just call me out if I'm terrible at this game. I fell at least 10 times just trying to jump from one crate to the next up to the place where everything is.
If you were jumping where I was jumping, it does stop you if you're not at a certain spot on the crate.
But see, and that's not clear to me.
I don't think that was the intentional way of getting up there.
It sure does look like a staircase if if they didn't design it that way.
There was an actual railway staircase that led you up there. It was in the other half. So they have that hallway that connects the 2 rooms with the other side had an actual staircase that went up there.
Correct. And I did end up using that eventually, but this was the first thing I found. I was like, oh, that's the way up here.
Exactly. That's what I did.
Awkwardly clamber for the next 20 minutes. And you're right, while no one's shooting at me, which I did not mind at all. That was fine with me. Yeah. But I don't know. Jumping in a first person game is tricky. And I just feel like at least Halo 1 has no business trying to have any kind of platforming with how that jump is. And maybe that wasn't meant to be platforming, but like it looked just like a makeshift staircase to get up exactly to the waypoint in front of me. So I assumed that was at least one of the intended paths.
You can do that.
Plenty of times trying to get back up there.
So I just did the rail, or not the rail, but like the stairwell.
Staircase.
And it was yeah, it sucked again.
It's
It
because they
just there's so
infinitely
many
spawn on
enemies.
them. Yeah, they
It-
literally
It's
infinitely spawn until you get in the room past the staircase, and then they stop spawning.
and I mean the good side of it is I got plenty of grenades, but the bad side is the grenades kind of don't always go in like they're supposed to. So I don't know. This area took me and the check like here, there, and nowhere. That like it this just took way longer than it should have. I will say two good things is that they at least give you plenty of health. There are 8 different health pickups in here on the ground floor, so you can heal pretty frequently. But these are just overwhelming. The Sentinels, they just tear your shield apart, and um, again, it's not fun trying to play baseball with your grenades. Plasma grenades suck
They're
for like
useless
trying to
for
get.
this.
They stick, and like I blew up one of them one time by using all like 4 of the plasma grenades I had. I just like rapid fired, and one of them I guess worked. But otherwise, frag grenades are pretty much what you need. And if you run out, then you have to back to the armory, and like it's good that it's there, but using the rocket launcher, that is almost as bad because you have to aim like perfectly into like the chute to like I feel like Luke Skywalker in Episode 4 of Star Wars, except for I don't have the Force, so I just have to hope that the game's wonky aiming mechanics work.
I actually figured out
But
what line of the rocket launcher aim you had to line up with the hole to get it to go in. So by the end, because I died so many times in that room, I actually knew how to exactly line it up.
I tried the rocket launcher and I used like 4 shots and none of them worked. And I was like, I guess you just have to use grenades. I guess that's my only option.
See,
And
I
but the
had that
problem
problem.
is the problem is I was so bad at it because every time I would throw it, it would just land on it would either stick with a plasma grenade or it just land on the lip
Hmm.
of the vent. I was like, come on, give that to me. And so I would go back to the armory and I eventually exhausted all their grenades. There weren't that many in there, to be fair. And I ended up with my very last vent and I had one more grenade. And I was like, I have to make this. And I did not make it. And I was so upset. And I like went to go backtrack through the entire level to find a grenade. And luckily, some of those flood, and maybe this is intentional, that were infinitely spawning in the stairwells. Like one of them dropped one more frag grenade, and I was able to pick that up, and then made that with my last shot. But it was a very frustrating sequence. I feel like it would have been fine if the vents just weren't there. If it was just you remove the shielding by going to the terminal, and then it's just a big target. Like I feel like that'd be fulfilling enough.
I agree.
Maybe make. I didn't really have much trouble with the enemies in this section. I'm not sure why my experience was different than you guys in that. So for me, I would have been perfectly happy to have a few more enemies being kind of a distraction versus literal walls in front of the target you're trying to hit.
No, oh no, I had plenty of enemies. I don't need any more.
Yeah, no, it was bad. The stairwell with the infinitely spawning
Hmm.
flood was just, yeah, like I said, it was good for like ammunition because I had plenty of weapons and stuff like that. But the problem was I burned so much health, and again the checkpoints were just so few far and in between. And I died like 4 times by falling off that platform while trying to throw in the grenade, where I'm like trying to like edge my way as close as possible to like get like the angle right, and then all of a sudden you hit the ground, and every time I hit the ground I died like immediately. There wasn't like hit the ground and lose your shield and like 3/4 your health. It was just automatically dead every time. It
Hmm.
was very frustrating. It's again, a lot of my issues come down to like pacing, where it just kills the momentum here at the end of the game when I'm like, and I understand it should be difficult and there should be a lot of enemies, but like these like nitpicky things,
Yeah,
keeping me from progressing at the very end of the game just made me want to just be like, I'm done. I don't want to play this anymore.
yeah. It winds up feeling anticlimactic
Exactly.
because you're just like, finally, I did it, and you're not like excited about it.
Hmm.
Joe, any final comments?
I have a time for this part as you guys did.
Okay.
My biggest issue was jumping back up from the reactors to like the platform where you're supposed to activate them because I missed that
Mhm.
pretty much every single time and had to walk all the way back around. But even that isn't enough to take your enjoyment out of this climactic scene.
Right. Yeah, I get that. But speaking of climactic scenes, now that we are able to explode all 4 of the different portions we needed to, the 4 vents, we go to a cutscene of, I believe, and basically we now know that we are going to successfully blow up the ship, and then we end up in the, I want to say the hangar bay, I guess. So I don't remember running from one to the other. So I think we just kind of end up in the hangar bay with the warthog, with the warthogs. If you're like me, I didn't think I needed one, so I ran out into the hallway, and then she's like, 6 minutes, 6 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I just kept running, and she was like, "We'll never make it on foot," and so I had to turn around and run back like a full 30 seconds.
Oh, I just kind of died because they were covenant out there. So, but when you're not doing that, you actually do have 6 minutes to escape. So you're solo in a warthog. Just now you're doing a drive on top of your ship to try to make it to the rendezvous, the exit. Or sorry, yeah, your rendezvous with your exit is a pelican's going to pick you up. And does anyone want to talk about the first half of this, or I can talk about what happens in the middle, and then we can talk about the full thing?
Just go and talk about what happens in the middle.
Okay. So basically, about halfway through your journey across the top of the ship, you're told to wait for your rendezvous with a pelican. It's the driver that's been with you the entire time. I had her name written down earlier, and I forgot.
Oh, Hammer.
Yes.
I think they also call her Echo.
I think her name is Echo, but the pelican's name is Hammer.
Oh,
Gotcha.
okay. And she's coming in to give you a pickup really quick, but she's being followed by banshees, and unfortunately she crashes into the Pillar of Autumn and going down in a blaze of glory. But
that was like actually devastating for
it really
me.
was. I was sad.
Like that was the most emotion I felt playing this entire game. I was like, fate of the world, who cares? That one pilot that I
trusted
kind
the
of
entire
enjoyed
time. Yeah.
listening to on the radio. Oh, they're down.
And then, fun fact, if you didn't know that was going to happen and you're outside of your warthog waiting, by the time you can get back in it after watching that cutscene and then start driving away, the banshees circle back and murder you. And then you don't get the checkpoint because the checkpoint is after you go to the next section, and then you have to do it again.
I need to watch her die twice.
I did, yeah. It was very traumatizing.
Checkpoint. All right. Is there a checkpoint in this?
There's a checkpoint after the pelican crashes, and when you start going down the pathway right after the pelican crashes, there's a checkpoint in that hallway.
I did not get that checkpoint.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell you why I know I didn't get that checkpoint.
It was about, for my clock, it was at like 3 minutes, 12 seconds. So somewhere around there is when I got it. Because I had to do that last part a few times. So I was glad I got the checkpoint.
It was kind of funny because you're going like full speed, and every time it's like, wait here, this is where the drop off or pickup's happening. Yeah. And so I stop and I look ahead, and I'm like, this looks like I keep going. Like I should continue moving forward. And then she dies, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And I'm just gonna get mine out preemptively.
Go ahead.
I thought this section was super fun. I had a great time driving my little warthog through all the little aliens, swerving around the corners. I didn't flip over. I didn't really make all the jumps they expected me to make because I
didn't do any jumps.
It's fast. There's like one part where they're like, if we go full speed, we can make this jump. And I was like,
no, you cannot.
I just fell down to the lower level and kept driving.
Yeah.
But it was super fun up until like the last 20 seconds. And we can talk about that in a second. But I had a great time with this section. I thought it was a much more exciting and more thrilling ending than the engine exploding scene was. And I only had to do it one time because I'm a pro gamer.
GG's. So one thing I'll say is another Halo game ends very similar to this, where you end on a warthog, so it's kind of funny. But either that or I was remembering this one, but I don't ever remember beating this before. So I was going to ask, Ryder, why do you think you didn't get the checkpoint? Because you said you thought you knew.
Oh, well, I'm not going to say I know why I didn't get the checkpoint. I just know I didn't get the checkpoint.
Oh, my bad. So, yeah.
You want me to explain why I know that?
Well, hold on. I know why you didn't. Why you knew you didn't. Because you had to keep redoing it. However, I will say you're told that there was a ship. I can't remember the name of the ship. It wasn't a Pelican, though.
Crane.
A crane?
I believe so.
Okay. Another ship, a crane, is in the hangar bay still. So we're going to go take it and leave before the ship explodes. And so we have another section. It's about the equal amount of time the first one took, about 2 minutes or so, of just driving, avoiding enemies and flood, and just making your way across the top of the ship. And then you have to get out at the end and run past a bunch of enemies and all the explosions and everything. You die there, you get upset that you were so close to the end, and then you have to do it again. And then, yeah, I'll let y'all talk about your adventures there. If anyone had anything else.
I only had to redo it once, but
okay.
The first time I was doing it, I guess I technically had to redo it twice, but the second time I literally drove. Okay, I'll start with the second time. I drove out of the hangar and a freaking grunt threw a plasma grenade and stuck it to me.
That
and
happened to me a
couldn't
few
avoid
times.
it. I literally came around the corner, plasma grenade hit Chief and like on the helmet and just, and that almost made me throw my mouse because of what happened the first time. Because I flipped the Warthog like 3 times, and it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. I think again, Warthog handles horribly, and the terrain is like tons of like bumps and like odd angles and stuff. Yes, it's intentionally like that. I get it. I got the Warthog stuck. I got like stuck in a gap, and it was like in between a road and there's a wall, and there was a gap in between the road and the wall. And I was driving, and I hit one of like the little bumps in the road, and the Warthog flips, right? It flipped over, and I could not get it out. And so I had to sit there like spamming until eventually I got it like undone. I was just going to run on foot because I gave it like 30 seconds of trying to get it flip, and I just started running. And then I was looking at like how close I was getting. I was like, I'm not going to make it. And I turned it back around, and the Warthog is now unstuck and perfectly like on the road. And I'm like, what? Okay, so I get in it, I drive, the whole explosion thing happens, and or the exploding of like the Pelican. And I drive all the way to the end of that area, and I have like 20 seconds left. And I get on foot and I start running there, and I'm like over halfway there, and it times out, and I have to watch the cutscene of the ship blowing up.
Oh wow! Okay.
And it's like it's an unskippable cutscene. I have to sit there like this and watch the ship blow up, and then it restarted me at the beginning, no checkpoint.
Oh, they should have made it go to credits if that happened.
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been awesome.
I was expecting that, and I was like, honestly, if I get that, I might just. I thought about just stopping it there because I was so pissed about everything. Yeah, and just be like, yeah, I'm done. But yeah, no checkpoint for me because I had to restart. And that's when I restarted, Grunt blew me up, and I almost lost it. I was so angry at that point because I was thinking like, who creates a 6-minute section like this with no checkpoints? And then the third time I did it, and I didn't actually stop for the Pelican to blow up. I just like, I powered straight through, and the cutscene, like everything still happened because Cortana was like, "Oh no, Chief, they blew up," and I'm like, too bad. And I think I finished the game, and I had like almost 3 minutes left on the clock. So I did it in like half the time it gave me because I was not stopping for anything. I was so angry. But
you're that Uber driver that wanted the full tip, huh?
I wanted the full tip.
Just a correction: the name of that ship we were going to is the Longsword.
The Longsword? Okay. Crane, Longsword.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. Joe, you got anything for us for that drive?
Joe.
I had a great time with this section. I didn't die once.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it's a great break from how many times you die to the flood and get lost. You're just driving.
It was great. It's like I said earlier, the Warthog is peak 2019 jank controls. So I'm perfectly used to that. I had a great time.
It was really awkward the last 50 meters where they're like, get out and run. And I guess it's supposed to be cool, but again, there's no sprint in this game.
Yeah.
So you're just like 30 seconds. Let me power walk my way to the ship.
Yeah, they totally could have just let you drive the Warthog to the end, and it would have been just the same.
You could have just gone to a cutscene like of you like getting there on the Warthog and like running. Like I don't know.
Just
Oh,
an added layer of stress.
So that brings us to the end of the game as we jump to a cutscene of us flying away. The Pillar of Autumn is exploding, and then you see the large explosion from space as the Halo ring gets destroyed, right?
And Master Chief announces a sequel.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't remember what he says at the ending here.
Hey, Cortana says, "Halo, it's finished," and I was like, "Hey!" And then Master Chief says, "No, I think it's just beginning." And I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, "Hey, Halo 2, there we
Yeah,
go."
and
They're
then it
super
literally
confident.
ends, and there's no end credits or anything because it's the anniversary.
Yeah.
Anniversary
Yeah.
or whatever. So it has that scene and it just ends, and I was like,
And-
wait, what? That's it?
And if
I
you
thought that
go
was
into,
kind of odd too.
you can find the credits in the menu, but if you click on it, it doesn't play credits. It opens a web browser
So you can read
that
them.
has a web page with all the credits for all the different games in the Master Chief Collection. It's very bizarre. I wonder how they do that on consoles. I'm sure it just has
It
a
just
little
says
list of
Google it.
credits. Yeah, I don't know, but it was a really
Great.
bizarre way to finish the game without being able to like decompress over the
Yeah.
credits.
So,
Okay. Yeah. go
Talking
ahead.
about the ending, I wanted to say why I thought the ending was kind of crazy from like a preservation of life standpoint.
Yeah, go for
Because
it.
I agree. I'm not saying that 343 Guilty Spark's idea of wipe out all life in the universe is the best suggestion. But why that is the suggestion is probably because what they did is probably, just saying, from a realistic perspective, the worst possible thing they could ever do was to blow up the Halo, which is like completely contaminated by the flood right now, a parasitic life form that feeds on pretty much all life. They did not wipe it out, they just blew it up. Who's to say that you didn't just create asteroids, which they literally did, just hurtling through space at like hundreds of thousands of miles per hour that are now going to end up all over the universe given enough time. So they took it instead of being like contained to the Halo, and now they're just like exploded everywhere.
We did it,
So
Patrick. We saved the universe.
yeah, so my point with this is there's interstellar objects that go between solar systems and galaxies. Who's to say that this one of these sections isn't going to end up in some other galaxy at some point, and some poor aliens are going to be like, "Wow, look, an interstellar object. This looks like it was made by intelligent life." They stop on it and then wipe out all life in their own galaxy. Like, sorry guys, I'm not saying that that wasn't the best solution at the time, but I was shocked and I was like, oh, okay, so y'all just created like space shrapnel to send this out into the stars, essentially.
Yeah, I did expect it to be more like a chain reaction explosion that like eviscerated the Halo from existence.
No.
So I haven't played Halo 2 or 3 or any of that, so that very well could be the plot of the next games. I don't know that it spreads somehow. That would make sense, but yeah, you're right. When I saw them like hurtling, I was like, oh, there's a planet like right there that piece
Yeah.
is hurtling towards.
All right.
Yeah.
So
It was fun.
Maybe.
I think we've
was a
covered
fun
basically
game.
everything about this game. So if y'all are okay with it, I would just like to go ahead and just do the end impressions and whether you would give this game a
worth-
thumbs up. Yeah, go ahead.
It's worth saying he does take his helmet off at the end, and you don't get to see it, and that's very
Oh.
compelling.
I saw it actually because I got the special ending.
No, that's not true.
It's because I got all the collectibles, and I
There-
found Mew
There
underneath
are
the truck.
collectibles. There are
For you, you
collectibles.
deserve it.
But yeah, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, you're
I
good.
feel like you can't talk about the ending of Halo without being like, oh, he took off his helmet, but you didn't get to see it. Like that's just
Right.
kind of a cool moment.
All right. So yeah, just give us your overall impressions and whether you would you give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. If you would recommend it to other people and blah blah blah. You guys know the drill now.
Joe, will you go first?
It's kind of weird. It's such a monumental piece of gaming history because of what it did for the first-person shooter genre and the multiplayer genre, and just how internationally famous this entire series is. That was entirely why I wanted to play it on my own before we even talked about doing it for Backlog Crew, was because it's just such a huge series in video gaming. that I wanted to sit down and try it. And the first, like I said a few times, I played the first, I don't know, third or quarter or something with a friend, and it was so much fun. Just goofing around, doing stupid crap, and shooting aliens with a buddy. But then I played the rest of it by myself, and it was so frustrating. I got lost so many times. I ran out of ammo so many times. I was just getting wiped out and playing the same corridors over and over and over and over again. And it was also just a little bit janky half the time. I think, I don't know. I also didn't really care about the story that much. I learned most of the story just now. Maybe that's just me though.
No.
But I don't know. I just didn't care for most of the game that I was playing by myself. So I guess for that reason, I'm going to say that I don't recommend it, but with an asterisk of if you have a buddy, it's probably a lot more fun.
Okay, so you wouldn't recommend it as a single player, but you'd recommend it as a co-op?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay. Who wants to go next? I'll go last.
I can go. I also feel kind of weird about this because I had fun with it. When I was having fun, I was having a lot of fun. But I was frustrated. I was like, this is not enjoyable in the slightest. And I think a lot of it can be attributed to just age. A lot of the jankiness can be attributed to age. And a lot of the things that I particularly don't like can be attributed to age. But here's some, like, two things right here. So first is sprinting, like from a gameplay perspective. That's kind of, it's a mild frustration, but it's something I got over. That's something that like ages it, but ultimately I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. Not having iron sights is also really frustrating in a first-person shooter. It makes aiming feel, again, way more jank. And here's where I'm not forgiving, because I do kind of get technical limitations, but there were games at the time that used iron sights. I understand it's a whole other level of, like, coding and game design that goes into that, but I could kind of ignore it if it wasn't for the fact that Halo still doesn't have iron sights, and they've justified it by being like, it's because Master Chief couldn't look down the iron sights with his helmet. Like, that's stupid. Shut up. There are cosplayers who dress up like Master Chief and shoot guns without any issue. Shut up. It's stupid. I hate the reasoning for it. And there are even people who go as far to be like, actually, that's what makes Halo good, is that there aren't iron sights like stupid Call of Duty. No, it makes it hard to play. It's jank. And again, I understand that this is like a product of its time. But the fact that they are still not including iron sights makes me want to like retroactively be like, this sucks, because it set a bad standard for the rest of its own series. But realistically, though, I do think there's a lot of fun stuff in this. Like Joseph was saying, it's extremely influential just for so many reasons inside of its own genre and just in what it's done for gaming as a whole. And there are people who don't play video games who like know Master Chief in a similar way they know Mario or like Pikachu, and they might not know the name, but they're like, oh, that's that guy from Halo. That it is a household name. There's a TV show about it.
Was a TV show.
Was a TV show. Was a TV show. But I don't know. I have so many conflicted feelings on this because it drags on too long, and like the story is nothing special, and ultimately I think a big part of why this game is so important for gaming is not the campaign, which is what we've talked about the entire time. It's the multiplayer aspect of it. That's what, when you hear people talking about Halo, whether it's this one, 2, 3, Reach, 4, any of them, people don't buy Halo for the campaign. They buy it so they can play online with their buddies. And I did play a little bit of that, and it's still good. I don't think the maps in this, like the first game, are as good as what comes later. I'm not going to knock that, though. But that's where the fun comes in, is what Joseph was saying, playing with your friends. And I kind of wish that we would have done that with this, is not necessarily all of us play the entire game together, but us play. And if we ever want to do like Halo 2 or 3 or anything down the line, I would like to throw this out here that we should at least play some of the game together as members of our like channel here, because I think we'll have a very different perspective on enjoyment because we'll be making memories together, because that's where a lot of my Halo memories are from high school, are playing co-op missions with friends and like giggling over the mic when you throw a grenade and blow your buddy up on accident. So
Yep.
I think that I would recommend this ultimately because of its significance in gaming, but I do have frustrations with it, and I think a lot of that would be mitigated, like Joseph said, if I was playing with friends. So ultimately, though, I give it a thumbs up, but more fun with other people, I think, without a doubt.
I am not known for shooters or for multiplayer games. And so I played through Halo Reach all by myself. I played through Halo 4 all by myself. The only other first person shooters I played are a couple different entries in the Doom franchise, which I played all by myself. I know most Doom games don't have multiplayer, but I did play some Halo Reach multiplayer when I was in high school, and I had a good time with a buddy. But it was never campaign, so I really can't imagine how that would change things. I did do just like the versus multiplayer and online, and I just have not built up the reflexes to be any good at that. So it was fun laughing with friends, and every once in a while I would blow somebody up, but I usually was losing, which doesn't always feel the best. So I really can't speak to how much of a different experience this would be multiplayer. And if I end up playing Halo 2, I would love to play it with one of you guys, to experience what that would be like. But overall, while there were frustrations with this game that I, pointed out as we played through, some of the navigation can be a little bit confusing. The jump feels bad. That's very nitpicky. The warthog flips over. The enemies respawn too much sometimes. All that being said, I still think that at worst, this game is okay. And I think considering that this game is okay 23, 24 years after it came out, like it means something. Would I say if you're going to play Halo, you should start with this one? No, I would recommend you play Reach or maybe Infinite. I haven't played Infinite. I don't know if that's a good starting point. I wouldn't be like, you got to play Halo 1. But I do think Halo 1 is still a good game. And I think it is one that if somebody is enjoying Halo, it's like, yeah, definitely go back and give it a shot. It was worth playing through despite the frustrations. So I would definitely say it was something worth spending your time on.
Perfect. And then you give it the thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up for me.
Cool. All right, so that ends it with me here. I will say that I will mirror most of what I've heard here. There were some frustrating points, but I don't know. I did play at a higher difficulty, so I can attribute a lot of the frustration I had was to that, which is my own doing, and I'm okay with that. So I, all in all, did have a fun time. I only had a few points where I struggled to figure out where to go or what to do, and there were few and far between. So overall, I had a great time, and I wasn't expecting the best story, but yeah, I felt it was compelling enough to at least know what was going to happen next. So I don't know how much of a story I need a first-person shooter to have, but I'd say it had enough for me. So overall, I could recommend this to anyone just because, like we've talked about previously, the history of this game, and like if I think of Xbox, one of the games I'm going to think about after I hear the term Xbox. If you ask me a game about Xbox, I would say Halo. So, and especially growing up playing this, the co-op, like Ryder said, making memories with your friends or your family playing Halo. So that's ingrained in me, especially with some of the later Halo games, but a little with this one. It's just getting to do those couch co-ops together, which are now a fleeting genre, I would say. So it's definitely something that I have to keep in mind, but it's definitely part of my reason that how much I like this game so much. So I would definitely say I would give it a seal of approval as well for me. So we're 3 out of 4 there. So I think this one gets the Backlog Crew seal as well.
You're wrong, Joe. Ha ha ha.
Hey, wait. He did say with a friend.
With a friend,
ultimately,
right?
I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
3.5 out of 4.
Yeah, there you go.
Rounds up to 4.
3.5. Yeah, exactly. So, so yeah, I guess any final thoughts from anybody, or we'll go ahead and wrap up.
Play Halo.
Perfect. Yep. Play Halo. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. And yeah, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and drop us a like, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Please.
Bye.